I can't help but be racist. It's true. Hello, Jojo D. How you doing, bud?
Years ago, Swapfire twisted your mind on Wii U. And right now, it's officially back in action on Steam. Beam into the mind-bending world of Swapfire and duke it out in the greatest game show of 2139. Shoot your opponents to swap spots so you can outwit and outmaneuver each other in Swapfire's arenas. Fly solo or with up to 4 players via split screen or Steam remote play together. And keep the contest going with 9 game modes to unlock. Scan the QR code on your screen to secure Swapfire today.
It is very much bullshit. Welcome to Jaffe Talks Games, the morning show where we talk games. Good to see everybody. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Welcome to the new year. If you're looking for Gabbin' and Games, that'll be up later this afternoon around 4:30 California time, where we cover mostly the news of video game daily news, the news of that day, of the day. Shimon. Oh my God, we have a Michael Jackson video game story in Gabbin' and Games today. But on Jaffe Talks Games, we spend more time diving into a handful of topics. Today's topics are as follows. We're going to discuss why most men play male characters and don't like playing the lady characters. There's been some scientific studies on this, talking about what kind of fellas do choose women, why they choose to play as women. It gets into a lot of things regarding The Witcher 4, with some news came out today on that, regarding sales of games. It's interesting. Then we're going to dive into AAA game design development as it relates to getting older, and do older game designers have a place in AAA game development. It kicks off with the conversation that was published yesterday with Ken Levine about Judas, goes into a war story about Twisted Metal 2012. We'll talk about that. Then we might take a small little break, and then we'll roll into the main topic of the show, which is, of course, the big games coming in 2025. I have a list. I want to know what you think, what you're looking forward to. If you want to chime in at any time, obviously it'll be the right time. Put yourself in the call-in waiting room in Discord. If Tech Protect is around, he'll kind of just chat with you and see if it's a worthy call. If not, I'll put you on and hopefully you'll have something interesting to say. But anyhow, this is the show. Let us begin. What's with the Elton John shades? I don't fucking know. Zoomy, they're just fucking, I don't know. They're just, they're, for costume glass. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Jaffe says, Alex, I notice you like this type of music that's meant for people who have gaming addiction. You mean that we opened the show with? Well, what I will say to that is it's just music that's not going to get a copyright strike, because people have been telling me they want to see the chat and after the show. And even though you can see it, the problem is whenever you edit stuff out like copyright music, which I prefer to open the show with, you lose the chat. So it's a sacrifice I'm making on your behalf. Why don't you toss a like or a sub or a membership my way for that great sacrifice I'm putting in. Okay. Interesting. Jaffe, please make a new John Garvin session happen. Jaffe Garvin. I would love to talk with Garvin again. Absolutely. In fact, I spoke with him recently about some stuff. I'll see if I can get him on the show very, very soon. Okay. Let's get into our first topic, though. I want to talk about this. Actually, before, let me get some very, very quick news. I don't hold him in high regard as a human, but as a journalist, he does his research and he tends to be accurate on things. Little Jason Schreier has put out his predictions for 2025, and I just want to tell you what they are. He, like a lot of people, feels that this year we will get a Half-Life 3 announcement. We'll be talking about that on Gabbin' and Games later today in terms of some suggestions that you can gather on the internet that says that this is probably coming very, very soon, or at least the announcement is coming. He says the industry will rebound, driven by PC gaming primarily. He says Ubisoft will undergo a significant transformation. Yeah. GTA 6, he says, will not be shipping in 2025. I could see that happening. We'll talk about that later today as well. Hollow Knight, he thinks the sequel Silksong will come out in 2025. I think he will also come out in 2025. AI will have its Icarus moment. I know what that means, but I don't know what that means. Exclusives will become a thing of the past for Sony and Microsoft. Wait and see with Nintendo, but expecting with them it's when, not if. Okay. The worst thing I ever did was plug Alexa back in. She's out there just... Alexa, stop. God damn, she just won't shut the fuck up. There will be riots if GTA 6 doesn't come out this year, says One Pump Giga. I hear. I'll cut to the chase. We will talk more in depth about it on the afternoon show. But I think what you're going to see happening is, I mean, I think the expectations for Grand Theft Auto 6 are so high, and I don't think they have, I know, get mad at me if you want. I don't think they currently think they have the goods to back it up. I think it has really sort of transcended into, it's kind of like Michael Jackson releasing an album after Thriller. Bad was great. That was the album. And it sold crazy amounts of copies, but it wasn't Thriller. And certainly Dangerous, that came after Bad, wasn't Bad, right? And so, meaning it wasn't the sales of Bad. It wasn't as good as Bad. And so I think with Grand Theft Auto, I think especially with some of the key creatives being gone, I think they understand they can't shit the bed, but I could see them going, like, what do you do with Grand Theft Auto? Like, I know, of course, we have to make a sequel. I don't think anything they've shown so far, I do not think they've got it. I really don't. But that's just my take. We'll see. Alex says Grand Theft Auto 6 is taking over the world. The more it's delayed, the bigger the madness. All of that's true, but it's not about the hype. It's not about the first month of sales. It's about, will it become what Grand Theft Auto 5 was in terms of this perpetual evergreen mega seller? And I don't think so. But only based on what I've seen so far. I don't think that's true, Anthony, right? Anthony says, Jaffe, I've heard Grand Theft Auto has been done for quite some time. There's absolutely no way it's been. I don't agree with that at all. There's just no way that game has been done. Because, there's so much they have to achieve with that game. And the idea that it's just been sitting on a shelf, no, I don't believe so. Bookster says they showed one trailer, LMAO. You can barely judge off one trailer. I can totally judge off one trailer. It's not that I'm judging off the first trailer as it relates to it being a great trailer. It's that there was nothing really there. Like, I get the fact, it's kind of like the Fair Play or the Jade Raymond trailer. It's not that it was bad. It's that what they showed, if you're going to put your best foot forward for your first impression, and what they showed was what they showed, even if it wasn't done, you would expect the high concept to grab you by the balls and go, okay, we're not done yet, but you got to fucking see this. This is pretty badass. I do not think the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer or the Fair Play trailer, if that's what it's called, achieved that. So no, the first trailer was absolutely just like, okay. It's kind of sat there. The tone of the trailer, says Zack, hit every note you'd want. I have zero concerns. That's my concern, is if you and I can predict the tone that we want, is a suggestion that there's not a wow factor to it. You don't give the audience what they want. You give the audience what they want and then surprise and delight the fuck out of them with 20% of it. And I didn't see a hint of the 20%. I'm not trying. Look, I'll buy it day one. I'm excited for it. I'm not trying to shit on your parade or anything, but I'm sorry. If you just look at it as a trailer and I didn't call that Grand Theft Auto, you wouldn't be going, oh my God. You'd be going, oh, it's kind of cool. I think the trailer for that anime open world Grand Theft Auto game looks more interesting at a trailer level, not at a game level, just at a trailer level. GTA 6 is just going to be GTA 5 with a Vice City skin, says PK. Could be. Their only competition are themselves, says Anthony. Nothing other than the last GTA game will compete, so they're cannibalizing their own audience in GTA Online. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly possible. I mean, there are open world games that do well, but none that have really captured that aspect of the zeitgeist. I guess I don't understand waiting for a bad game, says Zack, when they've never made a bad game. Well, I don't think anybody's waiting for a bad game. I think State of Emergency was probably a bad game, but if you're talking about Grand Theft Auto, I think there were a lot of components, the key of which two of the main key creatives are gone now. And I think the setting for this one, the satire that they tried to show in the trailer, it's very rote. It's one of those things where it's like everybody expected it, but I want to be surprised. I want to be delighted. But, I'm happy to be delighted. Guys, allow me to have an opinion that I get it, man. I get it. Grand Theft Auto is going to be great. It's going to be the best thing ever. I can't wait. Oh, my God. You happy? You happy? I mean, seriously, man, let's be critical of things and still be fans. I'm excited for it. That's wrong. I'm curious about it, but I'm not going to be a fucking slave to the hype when the hype isn't justified. Not yet anyway. Is Metal Gear Delta coming out this year? Yes, that's my understanding, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Very much looking forward to it. Cooper says, this is how I felt since or after GTA 3. Every additional entry in the series has felt more of the same with a different setting. Hello, Ricardo. I agree with you, buddy, Cooper. Ricardo says, GTA 6, Wolverine, Death Stranding 2, New Doom, Ghost Tsushima, Judas, Mass Effect 4, AC Shadows, the new Elder Scrolls. I don't think we're getting a new Elder Scrolls this year, but the other ones I'm excited about. Zack says, Jaffe, your opinion is fine. I'm all for critical, but it'd be more warranted like CD Projekt Red with The Witcher after Cyberpunk. I think the issue, though, is that Rockstar, like I said, have lost a couple of their very important key people. That doesn't mean they can't recover. That doesn't mean the people who are left that have been there since the beginning are not meaningful contributors. Of course they are. But I think that, along with the fact that the trailer didn't blow me out of the back of my fucking chair, and I expect that from Grand Theft Auto 6. And, it didn't do that for me personally. But maybe it will. Maybe it will. Did the trailer break records of how many views it received? I'm sure it did. But again, looking at hype doesn't mean anything. Right? It's kind of like the first time I ever really learned that lesson was in the early 1990, where the movie Dick Tracy from Warren Beatty came out. And whoever put that movie out, maybe it was Warner Brothers, had spent so much money on PR and marketing that it opened to $100 million weekend. And that was a big fucking deal back then in 1990. Like, wow, that's a lot of fucking money. One weekend, it made $100 million. But everybody who saw it, including me, was like, it was good. It was fine. It had some moments, but nobody talks about Dick Tracy today other than maybe the visual style of the movie. It was hype. It was bought and paid for, or it was built on the bones of the hype of Batman the previous summer, right? That was the first time I realized that you can't really get and stay that excited just because people are hyped about something before it comes out. That's easily manufactured and or built on the bones of something that came before. It's like Jurassic Park Lost World. The second Jurassic Park was a huge hit when it opened, but nobody likes the second Jurassic Park. It was terrible. It's fucking terrible. AJ says, Jaffe, do you think Rockstar is nervous for the fact that they have to successfully land the plane of dropping a sequel to the biggest game ever? No, I don't know if nervous is the right word, but I think they, there's a couple ways to handle it, right? There's what I would consider the healthy way, which is all you can guarantee is great craftsmanship and doing the best you can and reading the market the best you can. And you're probably not going to get Grand Theft Auto 5 numbers. Not because the game is not going to be good, bad, or otherwise, or brilliant, but because there are lightning in a bottle reasons things happen that are absolutely out of people's control. Just like Lin-Manuel Miranda, if he makes another, which he will, another musical after Hamilton, it's probably never going to be Hamilton again in terms of getting a musical on the cover of Rolling Stone and having high school kids that are more than just theater kids knowing the soundtrack. There are things that just kind of sort of fall into place. And I think that you only become nervous if you think that is ever in your control. I think the only thing you can, there's a John Wooden basketball coach, dead basketball coach, great basketball coach, famous saying is, don't let what you can do interfere with what you can't do, or don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do, right? I think if you're making video games to a sequel to one of the biggest video games, if not the biggest video game of all time, you just have to sit back and go, look, all we can do is control the craftsmanship, hope we're on our A game, try to read the market, and let the rest go. I think that's the way you got to do it in anything in life, right? You'd lose your fucking mind if you're trying to, if you're like Paul Atreides from Dune and you can watch the little paths of every action that causes every ripple effect. Okay, then I get it. Then I'm with you. It's like, okay, well, do that. Figure out what it was that made the lightning in a bottle. But since nobody can do that on the planet, maybe one day with quantum computing AI, we can do it. But right now we can't. I think the best you can do is just be good at your craft and hope for the best. So Ricardo says, Grand Theft Auto, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, Grand Theft Auto 6 world looks like the most realized world ever. I mean, I hear you, and you may be right, but A, what does that mean? And as importantly, based on a trailer where they're having total control over what they show you. But based on some of the leaks, like I like the idea. There was one of the leaks of Grand Theft Auto 6 where you go into, like, was it the donut shop or something where you can rob someplace. And even though it was a leak and it was early footage, you were seeing a lot of the code running above the heads of the NPCs. And it certainly seemed like what they were able to do and how they were able to respond to you coming into that area with the gun and robbing it was a lot more interesting than just AI characters going, no, and doing all that shit that we see over and over and over. So you may be right. I hope you're right. That would be fantastic. But so far, I think other than that, it's just a trailer. My most exciting thing was when I saw the AI sample of ChatGPT running in Grand Theft Auto 5, and you could go up to the NPCs and talk to them. And you could have full-on conversations with them. I'd love to see that be part of this. It's hard to believe it's not going to be some aspect of that. I don't know. It's a big thing to take on. But I think that's one of my predictions of 2025. I think we will absolutely see, in 2025, we will see the first AI game, not that uses NPC dialogue. We've seen that before. But one that really gets it right, where the AI is written to have barriers to make the characters in the world still seem very locked in and logical. So you're not going to be able to go, if it's a fantasy game and you go up to an AI, you're not going to be able to go, hey, what do you think of the new Taylor Swift album? Right? Then the AI will respond like somebody would respond in the Tolkien universe. Like, are you possessed? Are you mad? What the fuck are you? What is an album? What are you talking about? Let me call the guards. I think you've lost your fucking mind. I think we're going to see something like that, and it's going to change a lot of hearts and minds, because I've touched with it enough with certain games that have played with it that it's game changing, literally. It's delightful. Kenneth Mullen, thank you for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate that. I appreciate the support for the show. Thank you, sir. Okay. Jaffe, think about how many parents would allow their kids to play GTA 6 if the game had parental controls with the nudity hiding. It's an absolute must. I think the minute you do that, you run the risk of kind of looking like you're caving. And I think one of the things that Grand Theft Auto has always been, or one of the reasons it's always been so successful, is because it is edgy, and because it doesn't cave, and because it doesn't sort of, at least it presents itself as something that is outside of the acceptable norm. It's rebellious. And I think the minute you start putting out a hardcore punk album in the 70s, but having a version that has, lyrics that are removed so they can sell it at Target. It kind of doesn't quite work. Ricardo, again, thank you, buddy. He says, happy 2025 to you and yours, plus chat. You as well, sir. I know things are rough down there in Peru, but it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better for you Peruvians. Okay, let's get to our first proper topic, though. By the way, Tech Protect, that GTA section may be worth chopping and putting into a separate video. We'll see. I played World of Warcraft with AI, says Rob Aware, and still think it was the best experience I've ever had with the game. Did they, when you played it, did the characters, were they coded to not acknowledge things that were out of the World of Warcraft universe? Like, could you go up and say, hey, what do you think of the top 5 box office movies of the weekend? And it would start talking about Sonic 3 and Wicked, or was it like, what's a box office? Hello, Jay Styles. Okay. Topic number 1. Let's get to it. Oh, before we get to topic number 1, sorry. Carlos Hernandez yesterday super chatted and I missed it. He says, and thank you for that, Carlos. He says, not going to lie, Jaffe, playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle made me look at the Blu-rays for the first time in a long time. I'm with you on that. I think Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is the second best Indiana Jones story ever told, after Raiders, of course. Just excellent. Just excellent. It kind of does make me want to go back to Dial of Destiny, not because I liked Dial of Destiny when I saw it. I liked parts of it, like the opening, but just because I'm kind of in an indie mood now, so maybe I'll give it another chance. But I remember watching it and going, I don't like this at all. I think this is really not the Indiana Jones I love. And I'll tell you something else about Indiana Jones. I hope the new game that people seem to really be loving is also something that will convince not just fans, but Lucasfilm to go, you know what, maybe we were wrong about this idea that only Harrison Ford can be Indiana Jones. I've always thought that was a stupid thing to say. Maybe it's because I grew up with Roger Moore, and then I went back and saw Sean Connery, and then I went forward and saw Pierce Brosnan, and then Daniel Craig. I love them all in those performances, but they're still James Bond. And I would hate to think Indiana Jones, especially now that we've gotten to see him performed brilliantly by Troy Baker in his prime, Indy in his prime, we're not going to get to see that again, only in video games. That's ridiculous. That's fucking ridiculous. Addie Pie says, I think you're the only one that likes the Great Circle. You see so much hate for it. No, you don't. No, you don't, you troll fuck. No, you don't. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is many people's and many press outlets' game of the year. It's done so well that there was a news story a few days before New Year's that said LucasArts picked up the phone and called Microsoft and said, we would like some more of these. So I think I know you're just trolling. So go troll yourself in your mother's butthole. Okay. Let us move forward. I want to talk about this is how we're going to get into the topic of women and men playing, or why men have such a uninterested experience playing women in video games, right? We'll kick it off with Helldivers and something that, and this is not about DEI. It is, but the topic is not. But it just happens that this is what kicks the topic off. You know what I think about DEI? I know what a lot of you guys think about DEI. It's irrelevant. I don't really care about that right now. But the creative director and former head of the company, Arrowhead, that makes Helldivers, Helldivers 2, said this. He said, if DEI doesn't add to the game experience, it detracts, and games should be a pure pursuit of amazing moments. Now, I don't agree with this. I do agree that there should and can be games that are overtly not about anything except the surface material, right? There's no you can't help when you create anything, when you do anything, there's always going to be subtext, but certainly subtext to the point that it's barely thought about, if at all, by the creators. And if you pick up subtext, that's great. That's for you. I think there should and can be, and there is, a lot of great entertainment that comes from that philosophy. However, I would push back, as a number of people have had on this statement, to suggest that Helldivers 2 is not commenting on contemporary politics is a little goofy. It may not be on the nose, and I think that may be a good way to do it, but to say that it's not dealing with fascism and xenophobia and propaganda that tells you something is patriotic just to get you to go fight and risk your lives for the sake of the powerful, you're a fucking moron if you don't see that. But I do take his point, right? And the reason that even comes up to kick off the topic is there's another story floating around from yesterday. CD Projekt Red claims The Witcher 4. This is the headline. Now you have to be careful, but the headline's kind of correct. The headline is from that Park Place that is very much sort of anti-woke stuff. CD Projekt Red claims The Witcher 4 will tackle a woman's struggle in a medieval world. I won't read you the whole thing, but this is the Germain part. Germain, get over here. Give me a hanky. As an example, in The Witcher, this is the creatives of The Witcher, they say that we deal a lot with racism when it comes to non-humans in the game, and this is something we want to keep up with The Witcher 4. I think it's something that has always been really important. We make games for adults, and that also means we tackle difficult subjects. We tackle them in interesting ways. We tackle them without giving easy answers, but often opening difficult questions that players have to answer. And I think some of those questions might be going in this direction as well for The Witcher 4, because yes, Ciri is a woman, and as a Witcher in this world, that's unusual. So I don't think this is going to be this story everywhere, but since this is a part of the world and we want to tackle that, it's going to appear there as well. Meaning basically that Ciri being a woman Witcher and how the people respond to that in the world, especially if you've already seen in the trailer, they were like, oh my God, hubbub, it's a woman, is going to be part of it. And so I bring it up as it relates to two things. One is the whole thing from the Arrowhead guys, the idea that games shouldn't be about things, or shouldn't tackle subjects that are beyond just like cool explosion moment. That's awesome. I think that can be great, but to say that as a blanket statement, I think is quite stupid. But as it relates to the main topic of the day, which is why a lot of guys are upset about this to begin with, a guy like me who's pretty lefty, the most progressive fella you've ever met in your existence, aka me, I like playing women characters, even to the point that, and I'm going to share some stats with you in a second. That's why I'm leading into this, but I like playing female characters in video games for a variety of reasons, even to the point that I'm playing Dragon Age Veilguard right now, loving that game. And I started playing the game as a guy only because so many people in my chat forever have been like, dude, I always play as a guy. It's like, it's the guy I want to be and all this shit. And I usually don't do that. But I'm like, all right, let me make a guy character. The minute I start to romance the ladies, and you can romance whoever you want, but I choose to romance the ladies because that's my cup of tea. And I'm romancing the ladies in the game, and it starts to feel a little awkward to me. Maybe, but I'll get to the reasons why in a minute. If I forget, somebody in the chat, if you're interested, ask me why was that awkward? And so I immediately changed my character. Like, you can go to this magic mirror and you can change her look and everything. And she became a woman. And now I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I got sexy ladies, going at each other. This is a lot of fun, right? But most men, 70% of men choose to play male characters, and they feel really strongly about it, right? There is a thread, and I want to tell you why in a second, because I looked into all this, like what are the 30% of men that like playing women characters? What is that about? And does it translate to race? And does it translate to different ages? It's really interesting stuff, but there's a very popular thread right now going on over at NeoGAF, and the title is I Don't Like Female Protagonists. It's by a guy who likes to call himself Double Clutch. Okay. And these are some of the choice points of his post. He says, look, I just don't find female protagonists relatable. I don't understand why this is considered a blasphemous opinion. The same people lambasting me for holding this opinion are the ones pushing for female protagonists on the basis of inclusivity. There are some exceptions where I'm okay with it, such as Lara Croft or Jill Valentine, but even then I would still prefer playing as Nathan Drake or Leon, but I can accept those others. What I can't accept is Ghost of Yodi, Chloe Nadine from Uncharted, Assassin's Creed Cassandra, Ellie from Last of Us, Kate in Gears of War, etc. The fact that the majority of men don't want to play as women, and the only way they accept it is if a highly attractive woman whose ass they can stare at. That's reality. And even then, I'm not a slave to sex. I'd prefer playing as a cool dude more than even a hot female if I had the choice. This was well written and a good point. He says, good fantasy is an extrapolation of observable innate characteristics, not a turning of reality upside down. I don't always agree with that, but it's a good point. I'll read it again. Good fantasy is an extrapolation of observable innate characteristics, right? So you take the essence of a human and you say, okay, let me build that out into something dramatic, but it still comes from a place of core reality that you can relate to. He says it's not about turning that reality upside down. It's a good point. He says, example, Special Forces Commando comes home and wages a one-man war against the mob to save his town. Unrealistic, but enjoyable. But then he says a woman picks up a sword and slays every man in sight. In that story, men are cowards and relying on her to save everybody. That's stupid, he says. Okay. And then this obviously gave rise to a number of people mostly agreeing with him, but it's NeoGAF, so they kind of lean that way. But now I want to get to some of these stats, and then I want to go to you guys in the chat and see what you think about this. Again, if you have a thought on this and you want to call in and discuss it, put yourself in the call-in waiting room on the Discord. You'll be vetted over there. Make sure you got something fun to say, interesting to say, and then we'll put you on the show. Let me drink a bit of the bubbly, and then we'll get to the research, and then we'll get to the chat. Okay. So I wanted to find out. First of all, I wanted to find out, where did it go? About this, there's a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of research about avatars and why we pick the avatars, that we pick. And, I wanted to find out, and I might need to open up a different window one moment, but I wanted to find out why a lot of people do tend to pick male characters over female characters if you are a guy, right? And what they said was this. They said that 70% of men will pick male characters. And they said 30% will pick the female character. And at first I said, okay, well, I'm in that 30%. So explain to me why 30%. What are those people? And they say the 30% do it because of design motivations. And what that is aesthetic appeal, choosing a character because they find it visually pleasing. That's one of the reasons I do it, probably the main reason. Customization options. It says enjoying the process of creating or altering a character to fit their idealized version. A lot of times there's more things to do with women avatars. Like they have crazy hair and crazy clothes and crazy makeup, blah, blah, blah. And then expressions of creativity. It's basically the player's desire to engage with visual and artistic elements of the game rather than purely gameplay mechanics or narrative roles. And then they said that a lot of it has to do with, well, I'll get to that. I don't want to bury that yet, but I'll tell you what, I'll bury that for now. But then I said, okay, but what about the 70%? If you're 70%, why do you pick that? What does that mean about those men? And this is what it said. It said, the main reason is identity alignment. Many male gamers may choose male avatars because they align with their real-life gender, making it easier to project themselves into the game. This self-representation helps to create a stronger sense of immersion and identification with the character. And then you get into things like traditional gender roles, power and agency. It says research suggests that men who prefer female avatars, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry. Women who prefer male avatars tend to do it because they like destruction motivations and chaos and mayhem, right? So it's about identifying what society says a man is and a woman is, and saying if you're a woman and you like that chaos that society says men represent, they will pick that. But it's a very small percentage. It's like 9%, right? And so when I see these stats, my point is this. When I see these stats, it makes it difficult to automatically just say, if you don't want to play as a female character, you must be some mouth-breathing moron. Because that's a lot of the position from the left. And I've had that position before. I've been like, Jesus, how many times have you played a male character? Open up your fucking mind. And people are kind of like, it's entertainment. I'm not eating my vegetables. I prefer to play a male character because for those people, they identify with it more and they're able to get more immersed in it. Now, I will tell you, I mean, I am playing right now Dragon Age as a female rook, which is the main character. I don't even, other than the cutscenes, I do not pay attention to my character. It's a third-person game. This study also goes into things like first-person, third-person, right? And a lot of people, when they play first-person, they say it's more immersive. And I've heard people say that. My brother says that. On the rare case he'll play games, he likes first-person because he feels it's more of an immersive environment experience. And I'm just kind of like, I'm immersed in the game, but I'm not immersed in like, I feel that I'm Indiana Jones, or I feel that I'm just as immersed in Dragon Age from a third person as I am in Indiana Jones from a first person. The study did say that in virtual reality, first player perspective, first person perspective is more effective in promoting empathy towards virtual characters. So I thought that was interesting. The idea that maybe in GTA, you would go up and, have sex with a prostitute, then kill her afterwards in order to take her money. But in VR, maybe you wouldn't do that because the mind has more of an empathy towards those characters in VR. All of that's fascinating, even to the point that when we were starting with PlayStation and we were doing our first 3D game, which was canceled, called Space Adventure, we would spend days debating and discussing like what's better, third person or first person, because we didn't really know then. And we still kind of don't know. But it does seem to be that most people, for whatever reason, I don't know why I'm an outlier, will play first person and they'll feel more immersed, right? Same thing, by the way, with racial representation in games. Studies have found that video games often underrepresented non-white characters, right? So this is a 10-year-old study, but they said 10 years ago, 67% of main characters were white in games, and only 3% were black and 1% were Latino, right? The only difference would be in sports games, where you're probably going, the real world has made that particular athlete aspirational, and so I want to be that. So it's always the power fantasy. It's got nothing to do with anything else except just the power fantasy for a lot of these guys. There was another study that said Grand Theft Auto found black gamers reported higher identification with black characters, which influenced their gaming experience. So I bring all of this up because I am absolutely fascinated by the lack of research and, more importantly, the lack of knowledge around how games affect us, right? When we first person, third person, male or female, my race or another race. Why, for example, Stellar Blade, right? A lot of these anti-DEI guys are like, oh, Stellar Blade, that's what we've been wanting. That's what we've been. Well, no, it's not. Because the sales show that it's not. It's not that it was a failure of a game. It was a successful game for what it cost. Great. But fundamentally, most guys don't want to play even a sexy character, according to the studies and according to the anecdotal NeoGAF conversation. So it's almost like, whether you're talking about Lara Croft, Lara Croft was an outlier. I don't think you can cite Lara Croft. It was a different time. It was the first time a game had really done that. There was a novelty about it. It was also a great game. But I think the fact that most men who do comprise most console gamers want to play as men, I think that probably explains why Stellar Blade was a hit, but not a massive hit, right? Or why, if you look at the stats for Resident Evil 2, I think it was like 70, 80% of guys first picked, because you could pick Claire Redfield or the other dude. And most people pick the dude. I picked Claire. So I just think it's all very, very interesting. And it leads into the question of kind of what is a game and what do we know about games? And that leads into a Ken Levine article about video games. And that leads into AAA developers getting older. But I want to go to the chat. I want to see if there's also any calls. I see some people in the waiting room. Tech Protect, let me know if anybody's worth bringing on. But I want to go to the chat and see what you guys feel about this, because I thought this was really, really fascinating. I was also curious, by the way, about how much of this is affecting PlayStation's inability to connect with family titles, right? Astrobot, Game of the Year for a lot of people, sold okay, but not amazing. Sackboy's Big Adventure, great fucking game, bombed. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, one of the best games first party ever put out, did barely broke even. Puppeteer, on and on and on and on, right? They just can't do it. And I'm like, and I checked into this too. I was like, okay, is there something about playing childish characters or characters that are anthropomorphic, like little ratchets or, astrobots, that the older you get, the more uncomfortable you are with that. And that turned out, at least according to this one study, is the opposite, which was to say that the older you get, more and more people become more secure in themselves and have a sense of self-awareness. And so they can play around with avatar experiment. They can different genders. They can try different ages. They can try out, I'm comfortable playing Crash Bandicoot, right? And I assumed that would actually be younger, that younger kids would be more comfortable with that. But it actually said younger kids, when they're trying to figure out who they are very locked into society's idea of what it means to be their gender, their age, their race, and you kind of grow out of that. So my theory, which was this is maybe one of the reasons PlayStation, which always skews older, struggles with the family market, while Nintendo, which skews younger, always hits the family market. That theory is just fucking wrong. So I don't fucking know why it is. Let me go to the chat. Let me go to the chat and see what you guys have to say about this. Well, 2D Man, you're wrong according to stats. He says, overall, I think most people don't care. Fun gameplay is what hooks people regardless of what a character looks like. It's just simply not true, though. It's not true. Fun gameplay is only available to you if you've played a demo or after you've downloaded the game. But clearly there is a barrier for a lot of men and women, but since most console action gamers are men, it seems, to them, they won't even download it. If you tell them, hey, you're playing as a woman, I mean, how many people have downvoted Intergalactic on YouTube? How many people have downvoted The Witcher 4, even though The Witcher 3 is some of their favorite games? Because, and I know Intergalactic's a little bit different because there's other elements at play, but there's nothing about The Witcher 4 character. I mean, she's a good-looking woman. She's an attractive woman. So it's not that. It's not some kind of uglification of women that these guys always claim. It's a lot of people just don't want to play a woman. So the idea, 2D, that the gameplay rules, it simply doesn't. At least not when you're talking about sort of sales of a game. I played Cyberpunk as a female, says One Pump. I did too, and my girlfriend, brother, and normie friends thought it was weird. Is it a society thing? Yes, I played as a female as well, because I wanted to be a woman, not in terms of my real life, but I wanted to have the voice and I wanted to see her. And I think, and what I was going to say about Dragon Age, because I played, I get, what's her name, V or Z or whatever. I played her as a woman, and when she would have sex in the game, it was with other women, right? And I was like, when I did the Dragon Age thing, I was like, why does it feel weird for me to be the male Rook and have sex with Nev or Harding or any of the women characters? And I think it was because and maybe this is kind of like a psychological dig at myself, and maybe it's about my own sense of how I view myself, but I view myself as a very charismatic, very capable human male, but Rook in the game is like all the things I'm not, right? He's buff and big and he's strong and he's action first and all that stuff. And I honestly, I would rather have the titillating visual of two women flirting and supposedly going at it than something where it's like I'm supposed to be this guy that I just don't relate to. I don't aspire to be Rook because I could never be Rook. Now, when I was younger, when I did Kratos, that, even though I didn't want to be an asshole, but I was like, that was sort of the alpha male that I never was, that I wanted to be. But as I've gotten older, I think I've probably gotten more comfortable going, I'm never going to be that. And so it feels weird to sort of role play that in some way in a video game when I'd rather just watch sexy lesbians go at it. I think that's what it is. Men want to be immersed in the game, says Everett. So, of course, you're going to want to play as male. Still hype for Ghost 2 and Intergalactic, even if they are female. Yeah, and again, that's the other thing. To me, my immersion isn't really affected either way, other than if we're talking about the sex stuff we just talked about. Depends on the game, says PK. If you made Kratos a woman, she wouldn't represent the same type of brutality. I think she would represent the inner rage that everyone feels. I think that's universal, but certainly there would be the male power fantasy would not be reflected. Da Vinci says you must separate women from wokeness in order to have a take that reflects reality. A woke character in general is the issue. No, it's not. If we're talking about The Witcher 4, the Witcher 4, that is not the case. If you're talking about Intergalactic, Naughty Dog has planted enough seeds and done enough in that trailer to suggest you may be right. But for Witcher 4, which is where this article was from, I don't think that's correct. My immersion, says Matthew, is not predicated on the sex of the character. Mine isn't either, probably, at least in certain, except certain situations like I just described. But clearly, a lot of guys, it is 70%. 70%. Okay, let me bring in, let's bring in first, I'm not sure because the names for whatever reason are small on my screen, but hey, it's Jaffe, you're on. I'm not sure who I'm talking with though. You're in the chat. Your name starts with T, whoever that is. All right. Well, Tech, I'm trying to bring him on. It says he's muted. Everett says, Josh. Yeah. What's up, man? Oh, there you go. How's it going? What do you think about this topic? Give me your take. Oh, wait. Hang on. I got it. Nobody can hear you. Nobody can hear you. 1 second. Okay. Do a test. Say something now.
Check 1 2. Testing.
Okay, they can hear you now. Okay, start again. You think this is a fascinating topic, but you think it's not ubiquitous because you were saying Metroid and Half-Life Alyx, people don't have a problem with it, right?
Right, like you're playing as a girl, and that doesn't even come into play or as an issue for Half-Life Alyx, because it's like partially that can be attributed to studio pedigree and people just wanting to play the next entry in the Half-Life franchise or something like that. And with Metroid, it was a surprise. But even other games like Final Fantasy, where you play as a diverse cast of men, women, and animals, some people just have an inherent tolerance based on the genres they play that's higher, right? Like if you grew up playing platformers where you're all these colorful characters, that's why Lara Croft succeeded, because we're used to playing as bandicoots, Mario as a plumber. It doesn't matter. As long as the gameplay is fun, that's being satiated. Now with these AAA games trying to interject more story, you're also getting more perspective. But sometimes we're lacking nuance in the way that that's depicted, and and that's where that anti-woke rejection comes in. Like I was watching Suicide Squad with my trans roommate last night, and there's a trans character or not Suicide Squad, Squid Games, and in the new season there's a trans character. the trans character is not necessarily bad, but every time there's one of those like, here's the trans character. We got to address why do they have tits and why do they dress like that? Like there's a grandma that kind of like like is the metaphor or the vehicle for like, hey, let's bring up the elephant in the room, and then like, okay, we got to go through this shit, and we both rolled our eyes because it's not well done. It's ham-fisted, right? And this was probably always been a historical issue in media, I would say, like because it was probably just as ham-fisted when it was like, hey, I'm a white guy. Explain what being black is like. To me, it's always preachy and it's boring. And when it lacks nuance, people go like, I don't fucking like it. I think that's where people are always basing this anti-wokeness argument really at the heart of it all.
Okay, well, it's possible, but at the same time, you have a trans roommate. Most people have never met a trans person in their lives, right? So, and that's at least that they know of. And that's just the fact. And so, I mean, even in California, I didn't meet a trans person until 8 years ago was the first time I ever met a trans person that I knew that they were trans, right? So so I think most people, I think the heart is in the right place in that it's kind of like, oh, we need to kind of educate people on this because most people will see it and go, what the fuck am I looking at? But regardless of trans or not, let's just take the male female. When you talk about Alex being accepted, I mean, it's hard to tell. That wasn't a massive hit game. It was a critical hit game, but you needed VR for the longest time to play it. So the sales figures are hard to really judge, but you only saw her hands. Or Metroid, you don't know she's a woman until the end. In most of the games, she doesn't look like a woman. She just looks like, I mean, in the new one she does, but she just looks like a person in a suit of sci-fi armor. So I don't know if we can, like, look at Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade is totally overtly sexual and overtly female, and I think that's really appealing. But I imagine if you're saying, if the stats are correct, 70% of men don't want to play as female characters. Wouldn't you agree that men who might have liked that game probably stayed away from it because they're like, I don't want to play that. That's a girl.
I think on the surface, yes, that can attribute to like the fall off in a lot of sales. Like that's probably why Heavenly Sword didn't do that well, even though Noriko was super hot and was like kind of like an attempt at female Kratos and DMC style combat. So right. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I would say that like once people get their hands on it and actually just play the game because it is a video game, like relating to the character matters less if the game is fun. But and yes, in some instances they are subverting, or like yes, it's a more immersive experience. So you're focused on hands. You're not thinking about sexual characteristics. It doesn't come into play. It does like being a woman is not. It's a factor, but it's not the most important factor. In a lot of media where they're trying to.
Well, here's what I want to say because my mind is sort of changed on this. I used to take kind of a more of a soapbox approach to it, in that if you don't like this, you are somehow lesser. And I do think some of these studies do suggest that the more self-aware and the more kind of comfortable you are in your own skin, the more comfortable you are playing video games where you are able to take on roles that are not your own or roles that are not aspirational. But when I look at that stat and I go 70% of guys want to play guy characters because it makes it more immersive to them, it does make me kind of go, okay, maybe this has nothing to do with woke or anti-woke, and maybe this has nothing to do with progressive or conservative. Maybe this has everything, and maybe a lot of people don't express it that way because you get more clicks when you make it woke or anti-woke, but maybe it has nothing more to do with just preference of the
during
stats.
Downtime.
Yeah, it's like, look, if I'm playing a game, I want to be, most guys, 70% of guys want to be who they can't be in the real world. That's what they want out of their experiences, at least at this kind of game, And my mind has changed a little bit on that.
If I want to be a super badass assassin, I don't want to worry about trans rights while I'm going around, taking out the targets. I just want to have a good time, like for the 2 hours that I've got at the end of my workday.
If you're playing it for that reason, that's right. Okay, man, I appreciate your thoughts. They make a lot of sense. Thanks, buddy.
All right, you have a good one, Jaffe.
You too, sir. Hang on. In the chat, though, we have Gabriel says this is like arguing what food tastes better. The way people intake and process media is subjective. It is, but that's kind of the challenge, right? Is that When you have a stat, though, that says 70% of men like cheeseburgers, and you're opening a restaurant and you want to make a lot of money and compete against McDonald's, you probably are going to put cheeseburgers on the menu. So it's subjective, but when you have a vast majority of folks that say we like this and they are your primary customer, it may have nothing to do, or in some cases it does. Some cases they're fucking morons and they're anti-women, misogynist, transphobes. But in some cases, maybe the majority of cases, they're like, I just want what I want, which is I want to see myself in an idealized view. And in the chat we have, and I've been saying this forever, and I agree, Turtle Rabbit Fox says modern games should all have character creators. I think if you're making a new game and it's above $100 million and it's narrative based, you fucking put, if I was an executive, I would say, I don't care what your vision is. You put in a goddamn character creator. You can figure it out. You're a good enough writer. You're a good enough artiste that you can figure out to allow this character to look like however the user wants. And then on top of it, I would open a cottage business. Like if you're Unreal, not that Epic needs any more fucking money, but I would love any game made in Unreal 5 to basically have a store for any character generated game. Obviously it would adjust for the art style of the game. But if I want Taylor Swift and Taylor Swift has licensed her image rights to Epic, because I always like to make Taylor Swift in my character creators as characters I play, I just buy it. It's like buying a skin. In any game I have a character creator from Unreal 5, it's just my Taylor Swift version. I would love to fucking do that. Yeah, Cyberpunk did that. Not that, but they did either way. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to bring in Gabe. I'm scared to bring in Gabe because I owe him a PDF scan. I just haven't done it yet. Gabe, it's Jaffe. What's up, man?
Oh, hello. Yeah, I was here to remind you.
Tell me that's not why you're calling into my fucking show. But Gabe is the editor of PlayStation Magazine in what part of the world?
Italy.
And there's a big God of War retrospective coming up. We've done a couple of interviews for it. And I'm got to get him a design document. But what do you want to talk about right now?
I sent you the cover, by the way, in DMs. If you check the fucking DMs,
it looks. I did check it. It looks great. It looks excellent. In fact, did you send the final cover?
I think I did today.
Can I show people or no?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
The publisher's gonna fucking.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at the cover for the new PSM in Italy. That's all about God of War. It's pretty cool. All right. What do you want to talk about? What's going on?
I was listening to the conversation about the male preferring 70% of male, right? Preferring male characters.
Yes.
So first of all, I would like to know if there's the same study done on women.
Yes, there has been.
And what's the result?
9% of women like to play male characters, and when you figure out
9%,
9%, and when you ask why, it's because those women, just like the 30% of men that like to play female characters, and a lot of it is because, let me read you exactly what it said. 70%.
Are you telling me that males are more inclusive than females, then?
No. At least according to this, it says 30% of male gamers do the female because they like the flexibility of customization. They like the aesthetic appeal. They said 9% of women play as men because they score higher on destruction motivations such as chaos and mayhem. So if you're a woman and you really like the power fantasy, and only 10% of women clearly do, they will tend to play the male characters. So, and a lot of that is either societal because they don't see women in the way that they want to see them, like power fantasy characters or whatever. But that's what the study says.
So here's my take. I really don't give a shit, and I really do give a shit. As in, I can absolutely play a game like somebody mentioned Resident Evil 3, or be it Stellar Blade, whatever. Like, if there's a female protagonist in the story, I don't give a shit. I can play it. But when I play an RPG, something where I have to create my character, I've been doing this since I was a kid. I have always made an older version of myself. Which now that I'm 44, it's getting to be to the point where I'm kind of making myself.
Right. It's like you can't it's like you can't have a guy walking around. Well, I guess you could. You can play a wizard now. That's all you're pretty, But look, I'm playing. I'm going to be playing like a 6-month campaign D&D for the first time, and we're playing it on this channel. It'll be almost every Sunday, starting maybe this Sunday. And for you Gina fans, because the minute Gina showed up on the stream, all these people in the chats are like, "Where's Gina? What's Gina think?" Well, she apparently is going to be playing a character as well. But I struggle to make my character because I'm like, I really want to role play my character, and and I want to stay in character for the whole thing, and I can't be mean when I role play a character. Like I was playing a D&D campaign recently, and I was playing a what do they call that class of character? They kind of commune with the dead, and a warlock. I think I was playing a warlock. Okay. And in D&D, you have these patrons, and my patron came to me and said, "Look, I'm going to give you these powers, but you need to kind of be a little bit of an evil guy to take them." And I told my patron to go fuck himself, right? And that's not, and the DM was having to sort of adjust to that because a warlock is supposed to be able to be comfortable with that. But I just can't role play an asshole, right? And so
I'm with you on that.
There is such a really fascinating, to me anyway, study and as it relates to sort of designers and sort of what they need to know to make decisions about their games, about the psychology of why we game and why we make choices in games. And it seems that there's so many different reasons that people choose this gender, this race, this type of character in terms of, are you mean, are you fair, are you evil, that it's an overwhelming thing that it's almost like I want all that information before I ever think about designing another video game, which I always
do a good guy run in every game where there's a choice, not by choice, it's just what I'm in my mind supposed to do, but after that run, I usually try to do an asshole run. And the biggest one was in the very first Fallout back in the day, where you could actually kill kids, and you'd get a title. You were a child killer, and they would hunt you down and whatnot. So yeah, I can have a little bit of fun with that.
Do you? But, I need to try. Maybe I just need to let go and try it. Maybe it's because somewhere in my mind I think it's like that movie with Ryan Reynolds where he played the video game NPC. Even though I know that these aren't real people, probably. It's like it gets into a whole thing of like simulation theory, right? Like,
you feel bad. Yeah.
Well, and think about this. It's like, if we are in a simulation, like I'm playing Call of Duty last night and I'm dying all the time. And I'm thinking about simulation theory and I'm like, okay, if we were to actually create a simulation theory, we probably would create it like, or if you were to try to create the most immersive video game ever and it was Call of Duty, and we could make it so you didn't know you were playing a video game, we would do that, right? Because that would be the most immersive version of Call of Duty, is because otherwise life is cheap, it means nothing. And so if this is a simulation, it makes all the sense in the world that we don't know what's after this. And it makes so much sense to me, to my brain. I'm not saying I have no proof of this, and I'm not saying this is what I fully believe, but it makes all the sense in the world to me that the minute we die, we take our headset off and go, "Oh, that was awesome." Right? because why wouldn't we? Yeah. Why would we know? It would break the immersion, So anyway, buddy, I will get that PDF to you this week
make a note. I want to see you physically make a note on stream right now.
Yeah, that's not happening. But okay, I took the note. There you go. I'll do it. Thanks, buddy.
Have a good night.
You too, sir. All right, let me bring in one more person, then we'll get to the next topic. Okay, this is Ikwochi, and then Sigrat. I can bring in Tech Protect if you need me to. I know you're screening these. I appreciate it. Ikwochi, it's Jaffe. What's going on, bud?
Hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. What's up?
All right. This is my first time doing this, and because I have no work today, so I'm
cool.
free to actually be doing this.
Well, I am glad you are here, sir. What do you want to talk about? What's going on?
Yeah, about the main character, like whole topic about the main character. Personally, it's weird how I get why men don't want to play as, female, because most gamers, if you look at like most gamers, like of course they look at themselves and they're not like the most in shape kind of people, and they feel like nobody cares about them. So when you look at a character like Kratos or Joel or Nathan Drake, they they want to be that kind of person. So I understand why they're so fixated on just having all these strong, beefy kind of male-dominated main characters rather than having someone like Ellie or Abby. Even Abby, like Abby is very like badass and she can whoop the shit out of motherfuckers too. And she's relatable as hell. Like I love Abby, I love Ellie. They're both relatable. Even I'm a fucking dude, but I can relate to Ellie and Abby. Even now they're female-based characters rather than someone like how can I say then like Nathan Drake were in that way. Like they're like if you can relate to anybody, I feel male or female, like I don't. I just
So
don't,
so
I
you're
just
okay.
don't-
So you're saying though you don't have a problem if you like the character, it doesn't matter to you whether it's male or female.
Oh hell no, it doesn't matter. Like of course I would rather play as a male because it's a dude, but if it's a female and she's well written,
But
and
but
she's
wait a minute.
awesome,
But wait a minute. Why would you rather play? So did you play Resident Evil 2, the remake?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just finished it actually.
Okay, who did you play as first? Who was your first choice? The girl character Jill, Claire, or who's the male in that game? It's not Leon, is it? Is it Chris?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the name. I
Okay,
just know
whoever the male was, who did you play first?
Oh, of course I picked the dude. Of course I picked the dude.
Why, of
I had,
course,
like-
though? Because I didn't. Most men, though, most people who played that game picked the male, according to Capcom. So what was the reason when you say, of course, I picked the dude?
Well, it's because he's a man, so of course it's easier to resonate with a man as a man it's easier to resonate with a man rather than a woman. But I have no issue with if I had to play with Jill first, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't be why I gotta play with Jill, you know what I mean? Like-
Yeah, and maybe it's something that you can learn kind of about yourself, right? Because for me, and I've said this before, I feel very masculine in only a couple of areas of my life. I'm not one of these guys that's like, I'm fucking gonna drive fast and get in bar fights and lift weights, and I don't give a fuck about any of that. But when it comes to when it comes to work and when it comes to creativity and when it comes to sort of ambitious aspects of things I care about, I'm, at least I think I'm alpha as fuck. But anything else, you may as well, like I've said before, check for a vagina because I'm sure it's there somewhere. And I'm very comfortable with that. But maybe that's why for me, like when you're like, oh, totally, I pick the guy first because I want to be that guy. I pick the girl usually first if she's attractive because I thought she was real sexy in that game. So, which isn't to say that other men that pick the male don't also think that Claire Redfield is attractive. It's just that it's interesting to me that that's my driving reason. Whereas for a lot of guys, at least 70%, it's more about the kind of guy you want to be,
That is true too, because a lot of them it feeds into that kind of stereotype of what a man should be or what you should aspire to be.
Which and some of that's healthy and true, and some of that might just be media. Like in the chat, Spectrum Blast says, why is that the stereotype? Literally not all guys are masculine and think about driving fast and getting into fights. Stereotyping much? Yes, I am.
A lot of them want to be that though.
Right,
They don't
right.
want that,
That's
but
right.
They want that in them.
That's right. So
that they
there
can
are
push.
two types. There are the guys that are actually that way and the guys where society says you're supposed to be this way. And those are the majority, at least based on this specific statistic, when it comes to video games that we're talking about.
That's like, personally for me, that's why I'm not so like up in arms, like especially with Intergalactic. Like Intergalactic is gonna be a fucking awesome video game. We all know that Neil Druckmann can fucking write characters. But I'm not like, oh, why is it not a male? Why is it Troy Baker not playing the male? Like, cause I'm like, dude, like,
Because Troy
first of
Baker's
all,
busy. Troy Baker can't play
you
every
understand,
fucking
yeah,
video
yeah.
game character.
I know, like that's what I'm saying. Like, but I'm not. The reason I'm not up in arms because like I'm not like people want to escape into a reality. They're not that they're gonna play as a man because I can relate. But like, dude, if she can be relatable and she's a woman, it doesn't matter. Does it really matter? She's gonna kick some ass. She got a fucking power sword and everything. Like, does it really matter? I get it, but does it really matter? Is it really that deep? It's a video game. You play for 2 hours and then you gotta get back to the real world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. All right, interesting call. Thank you, buddy. I love that you called. Please call back anytime. See you, bud.
Oh yeah, man. I'm gonna try and call back more.
All right, man. See you soon. All right, well, let's move on to the next topic, though, which kind of, Warped Eye says he wants to be Leisure Suit Larry. Yeah, let's move on to the next topic, though, because it's semi-related, and it's about aging video game designers. There was and it's not just about, getting old. It's about in other mediums. Like if you look at Ridley Scott, well, wait a minute. Let me finish up Spectrum. Spectrum says, but you can't say all guys are like that. I didn't say all guys are like that. He says that's what's wrong with people. That's what's wrong with people, and then complain later on. Just because some people do bad things doesn't mean everyone is like that. Yeah, I didn't say everyone is like that. But in this case, 70% of the men that were surveyed are claiming that's the reason that they do this. So I'm not that kind of a guy. Clearly, I agree with you, Spectrum Blast. All right. So anyway, this next topic though is about, it got in my brain because Ken Levine was talking about Judas, which I'm excited for. After the break, we're going to talk about the most anticipated games of 2025. I assume for a lot of people, Judas will be up there for them. The follow-up, even though it's not in the same universe, I don't think is BioShock. But here's one of the quotes he said that was making the rounds yesterday, which isn't really about Judas, but it's about games and making choices as a designer and all this stuff. He says, our industry is over 50 years old and we still don't really know what it is, what games are. By the time movies were 50 years old, they were making Citizen Kane. It's changed somewhat since then. Styles have changed, but they had it pretty well figured out by the 40s. We have not. And I bring this up because if you look at film, like this Christmas, one of the biggest hits was Gladiator 2. Ridley Scott, I want to say, is 80 years old. I could be wrong, but he's about 80. Spielberg's got a big movie coming out next summer about UFOs, which, he hasn't had a big hit in a while, but this seems like it's primed to be a hit. That he's in his mid 70s. There does seem to be in film and other mediums, music, books, theater, the ability to age with the audience, right? And to sort of grow into or take what you learn about the medium and grow not just with your audience, but even a younger audience, right? But I look at video games and I have a very different kind of sense of what's happening. We look at Kojima. Kojima is a really hard guy to look at because I don't mean it like that, but in terms of his body of work, especially like the Death Stranding stuff, because it's so niche, even though it's been successful, it's not, he's kind of already this sort of celebrity. He's got his audience, but I don't think most people tuned into Death Stranding because the concept or they loved it. It was because Kojima got them interested or it was a Sony exclusive. But someone like Ken Levine or Cliff Bleszinski or me back in the day, growing older, and asking people of this age to continue to connect with what the AAA audience wants, I think is a really fascinating challenge, especially given that Ken is right when he's talking about what are games. We don't even really know what they are yet. And he's only talking about games as they relate to single player games, right? And his take on a single player game he's probably my age, a little older, 55, 56, is trying to give the player more agency and whatnot. Well, is that what the average 22-year-old male gamer wants? A story about Judas and the ship that's crashing? I don't know. We'll find out. But at the opposite end of attempts is Amy Hennig, who's about the same age, and she's got 1943 Rise of Hydra, which I think will be out this year, and I think we'll hear about probably with the latest at Summer Games Fest, probably sooner. And I think that's going to be more of a telltale kind of narrative-heavy, at most Until Dawn-like gameplay experience, and not at all like you're going to be seeing in Judas, right? And you could say, okay, well, those guys are aging in and they're aging with their audience, and they kind of sort of are. But if you look at what the biggest games are amongst younger players, it is not, it's Roblox, it's Minecraft, it's Call of Duty multiplayer. It's all of these social sandboxes that really are ruling the roost for younger gamers. It's Among Us, right? And so it's very interesting to me. It's like, how do you, can games, I guess is the question, can video games grow into a medium like film, television, novels, records, whatever, albums, music, you know what I'm saying, where your audience gets older with you. And maybe the medium is so young, we don't have a lot of 50, 60, 70-year-old gamers yet. We're only starting to create them now because it's been around long enough. Are they running out to play Dragon's Dogma 2? Are they running out to play Judas? Or are they playing games at all, let alone have they moved on to games just like Wordle and just like, Words with Friends? Or are they still playing action games? Or I'm very curious about this. 2D Man says, at the core, it's because games are a game, a competitive task to complete. Movies and books are not that. Sure, but what, you think older people don't have a competitive streak like they did when they were younger? But I'll give you an example of this, though. Some people have said, Jaffe, tell more war stories. And this relates to all of this, right? This ties into... and then I want to go to the chat and get your thoughts on this. And again, if you want to speak on this, put yourself in the call-in waiting room, talk to Tech Protect. We'll bring you onto the show if you got something interesting to say. But this kind of ties into Twisted Metal 2012. Because I had come off when I made this. Hang on one sec. I had just come off making God of War. No, is that right? Pretty much. I did a Calling All Cars, then I did this. But I was firing on all cylinders. I was kind of at the top of my game at the time. And this was, 20 years ago. God, not 20 years ago. 12 years ago. Something like that. And not 8 years ago. I don't know. I can't do math. Shut up. Fuck you. The point is, 12 years ago. The point is, though, I remember, and again, I have great respect for Scott Campbell, who was my co-designer, co-creator on this series, along with Kellen Hatch. But this game, working on this game together, and I'm still a fan of Scott's, and he's a great dude, but it really did fray our relationship, and it's never been the same since. It probably never will, because I don't think either one of us really have that much vested interest in rekindling it. I mean, we were never like close buddies. We were close work associates, and that was a great relationship for a long time. But I remember this moment on 2012, a couple of moments, where it was very clear that he was somewhere else, and he's older than me. He's like 10 years older than me, right? So that he was somewhere else in terms of his views of the medium, right? And the two things that come to mind are, one is I was flying out of San Diego to I was going to LA or going somewhere, and it was a holiday, but it wasn't like Arbor Day, but it wasn't like a big fucking deal. And I was very upset to learn that the guys at the studio weren't working. And Scott was like, oh yeah, well, we gave him the day off. Now, again, Scott's one of the best producers in the business. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to motivate his guys. He knows how to reward his guys. And it probably was something I shouldn't have said or something I shouldn't have pushed on. But, it was the first company I ever co-owned. I was coming off the God of War mentality of we work all the time. But if you want to be great and you want to make your mark, you push and push and push. And you certainly don't get Arbor Day off or whatever the fuck it was. It was Christmas, Jaffe. It wasn't Christmas. Fuck you. It was like a minor holiday, but a lot of people get days off for it, but it's not required. And I was just, and we kind of butted heads over that. And I was really kind of bummed and really kind of depressed that I'm getting on the plane going, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought Scott and I were kind of in sync on this, but throughout the project, there was clear. I was still playing AAA games. I was still loving AAA games, and I wanted to compete. And it's not that Scott is not a competitive guy. He's a super talented, super competitive guy, but where he was, in his life, that's not. And a big part of it was he was just older and he wasn't playing games like these. He was playing mobile games. And so my obsession with pushing the limit and going Even the idea that it's like it was ridiculous at this time that we couldn't have the players get out of the cars. And Scott was kind of like going, yeah, but we don't really have the setup for that. And as a producer, he wasn't wrong. But as a producer making a AAA game in 2012 where everybody gets out of cars and into cars, the fact that we didn't even really seriously explore that in Twisted Metal, because it's like, well, it's not that important. We butted heads on that. The fact that I'm like, how can you not think that is crucial? Grand Theft Auto 1 or 3 came out 11 years ago, and you're in and out of cars. We're not even going to have a real meaningful discussion about what it would take to create on-foot segments of this game. And again, to me, it's that sense of he was moving more into playing mobile games, right? And again, I'm not knocking Scott. I'm not knocking mobile games. I get it. But when you put all this in a vacuum, or when you put all this in a big clump, right? Why people choose certain avatars? Is it about the sex? Is it about the age? Is it about the race? When you look at what people want out of their games, and as they get older, what older designers want, especially in the world of now Roblox, Among Us, Fortnite, Call of Duty multiplayer, those are not, you can almost look at a stratification, right? Of like when I started playing games, it was single screen arcade games. And then there was the generation that came up with the NES and the Super NES, and it was like slight action adventure games, side scrollers. That ruled the roost. And then it was like 3D action adventures. And now we're on to the fourth generation of sort of design philosophy. And it seems most people are spending their time and money on social sandboxes in terms of spending time with friends. That's where the money is. That's where the gameplay time is. And it's not to say that games aren't successful in other genres. Of course they are. But you're not seeing a growth in those areas, right? And so how do you stay a designer even if you look at I'm thinking of like the guys who came up in the arcade days, the Atari guys, right? And if you remember one of the guys who created the Xbox, Seamus, what was his last name? Blackley? He started a company about 15 years ago, and it was to make mobile phone, cell phone, smartphone games, but it was going back and getting all the old guys who had made Atari hits and going, these guys know how to make fast, quick bite games. They couldn't make the jump. I don't think that team ever put out a single fucking video game, right? And so I'm just very interested in this idea of the growth or the lack of growth in this industry that we see everywhere else. The idea that you can have Eugene Jarvis, who made Defender and Robotron and Smash TV. And yeah, he's been successful because he's kind of gotten into the Dave and Buster's world of arcade cabinets and whatnot. But those guys aren't working anymore. Really, they're not relevant anymore. A guy like me, not relevant. Or Cliff Bleszinski, maybe he's got something else to say. Probably not that relevant anymore. If Amy's new game and Ken's new game doesn't connect, right? I mean, I'm very interested in this. I'm very fascinated by this. Okay. All I know is the Wolf games crash and burn this year. Super bad. That's all. Wait. All I know is after all these Wolf games crash and burn. What's a Wolf game? Oh, woke games. They learn that lesson. They hopefully learn that lesson. I mean, maybe. But at the same time, a lot of it could be tied to more of a sense of, like, I'm not ready to give up the goat on that one yet. I understand people don't want to be preached to regardless of what you're preaching, but unless you already agree with it. But at the same time, though, I look at something like Dragon Age. I mean, I'm streaming Dragon Age last night. And people who are watching are like, okay, this isn't as bad as I heard it was, right? There's something else going on there. But that's a different conversation. Tech, do you want me to bring in Matt, or do we want to stay with the chat for a little bit? Uncensored Maverick says Dragon Age is so boring. I don't agree with you. I think it's a great game. I've played tons of it. Toby says Dragon Age story was so bad. What was bad about it? Talk to me about what was bad about it. I think it's an interesting story. You've got these fucking gods that rise up that want to enslave the world by opening a rift in the universe, and you've got this guy that's only capable of stopping them, that is somehow trapped in the mind of the protagonist. And the only way that you can, they have to work together, the guy who's basically kidnapped his mind. Yeah, the dialogue wasn't great, but that doesn't mean the whole story's worth throwing away. All right, Matt, it's Jaffe. What's going on?
Hey, Jaffe.
Hey, man, what do you want to talk about?
Talk about aging game developers and stuff like that.
Okay.
I think that it's not just game developers. I really think that any creative field that you're in, especially if you hit kind of like fire early, kind of like you did, or Miyamoto or anything like that, that you, I don't know, you either kind of stay with the stuff you like, or you learn more about the creative process and you go kind of crazy because you know so much about, how to develop a game, and then you see different ways to do it, and then, it's either you kind of know what you're good at and you kind of stick with that, or you go off into, like your Miyamoto, and you just become more of a problem to the team developing the game than
well, I don't know. I don't know if I would agree with your assessment of Miyamoto being a problem, but I would agree with you that the more, and I assume you do see this in other mediums. I have to assume you see this in music, but in video games, like the more I learned about game design, the more I wanted to get away from the stuff I had been successful at, because the more I recognized that games weren't really the place at the moment to tell a great story, or it was more about the mechanics, right? And at a fundamental level of just craftsmanship, that's absolutely true. But it's not good business. Good business would have been, it's great. If you're like Justin, I'm just thinking Justin Timberlake is the most successful of NSYNC, but if you're Justin Timberlake and NSYNC, it's like, it's great. You're learning all about improving your vocal range and music history, and you want to write and work on music that's much more interesting than what we've been doing. And you can do all that, but if you can't figure out how to continue to make top 40 hits, which nobody wants to be challenged with top 40 hits with really interesting musical composition, then you're useless. And I think for me that very much happened. Like, I walked away, not consciously, from what people liked about my stuff because I got so nerding out on the moment-to-moment mechanics and why your brain is engaged in this part of the activity, but you disengage here. And that's important craftsmanship, but nobody buys that. That's not why you show up and buy a game. And I think maybe other industries, I don't know why Ridley Scott, for example, has been able to figure it out and go, I'm still going to make mainstream entertainment. I mean, no one ever pulled me aside and said, dude, it's great you're learning all this stuff, and it's great you understand video games better than you ever have, but you still have to make commercial products. What are you doing? Right? I don't know why that was. I kind of look back now, and I don't know how I would have responded if someone would have said that, but certainly the games I worked on would have been more successful.
If you were to make God of War again today, would you make it where you could change to a female character?
Oh man.
Because we were talking about
yeah. It's
whatever character into whatever.
I mean, if I was an executive, I would say, look, if you're going to spend over $100 million, you have two choices. You make something that we know the vast majority of our audience will respond to, which is a straight male character, or you give the player choices and the story has to adapt. I would do, if I was an executive, I would say that, and I would agree with that. I wouldn't like it. But I would go, yeah, no, I get it. I absolutely get it, because you're spending a lot of money, and like I said, it's like opening McDonald's and not serving hamburgers. It's like, or a competitor of McDonald's. It's like you're competing against McDonald's, and unless you're going to do something really weird and avant-garde, you got to fucking have hamburgers, dude. Because that's what the majority of people who come in here want. And I definitely think both of those pills would go down easily. I would say either let the player choose or stay focused on your core audience. Absolutely. Johnny, I don't know. Johnny in the chat says, when you make something for everyone, you make nothing for anybody. Yeah, sort of. But I'm not talking about making vanilla nothing. I'm talking about making mainstream products. If you think there's not a very big middle ground, I think you would be wrong, Johnny. I get your point. But if you look at mainstream blockbuster movies, like look at Twister. I didn't happen to like Twisters this summer, but it did really, really well. And it was because it offended no one. It wasn't bad. It was kind of jokey and stupid, but the idea that it was made for no one because it tried to not be offensive, I think that's a relatively easy line to walk. You're not going to make art necessarily, but you can make good commercial, satisfying entertainment.
I don't know. I think from the executive point of view, I think executives want to be, not always, of course, but they want to be somewhat fearful of the head creator's vision. Because, I mean, if they're just going for, like, the most vanilla idea, like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. I really do think executives like to be, like, somewhat worried about the product they're going to get. You know, that's why you work with difficult artists.
I think it's a balance, right? It's always got to be a balance. I think Sony, and I can't speak to them today, but when I worked there, their executives were great at that. Their executives were great at saying, we respect your creativity. We respect our creatives. We want people to think outside of the box, but don't be a fucking moron, you know, and don't make something that's so out there, you know. I mean, back in the day when it was super cheap, you could do things like what was it called? Tale of the Sun or Parappa, and you can still do that in indie.
Jungle, or, you know, there's a lot
Tokyo
of weird
Jungle,
games
right.
that Sony put out.
It's much harder to do that these days. But yeah, I agree with Turtle. New ideas are best tried in the indie space than ripped off by mainstream publishers. I agree. All right, Matt, thank you for the call, buddy. I appreciate it. All right, man. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a 5-minute and 40-second break. When I come back, we're going to dive into the main topic of the show, which is the most anticipated games of 2025. I want to hear what you're looking forward to. I want to get first, before we get to what you're looking forward to, though, I'm going to show you the list of everything that's coming, the exclusives for Xbox, the exclusives for PlayStation, and then we're going to discuss what you can't wait to play. Right now, I mean, I'm very excited, I'll tell you, for Avowed. I need to look at the Sony lineup. There is rumor that there is going to be a State of Play next month or this month and an Xbox showcase this month. And there is CES is coming up in like 4 days. That's going to be exciting as fuck. I'm sure probably won't get game announcements, but you never know. We might get like a State of Play, or we might get like a Nintendo Direct or whatever. So that's all coming up after the break. Hopefully you'll stick around. If not, thanks for hanging out. Maybe we'll see you at the afternoon show. But I'll be back in 5 minutes, and we'll jump right into the final topic of the day. Don't forget, if you want to join the Discord and call in and share your thoughts, Tech Protect is waiting, and we'll see you soon. All right, here we go.
8 years ago, Swapfire twisted your mind on Wii U. And right now, it's officially back in action on Steam. Beam into the mind-bending world of Swapfire and duke it out in the greatest game show of 2139. Shoot your opponents to swap spots so you can outwit and outmaneuver each other in Swapfire's arenas. Fly solo or with up to 4 players via split screen or Steam remote play together. And keep the contest going with 9 game modes to unlock. Scan the QR code on your screen to secure Swapfire today.
All right. Welcome back to the show. Second part of Jaffe Talks Games, the morning show here on the channel. We are going to get into the topic about the games of 2025 and what people are looking forward to the most. I want to start with, and for part of this, I'm just going to go through a handful of the games. Hello, Dave Calzone. I'm going to go through a handful of the games coming out, show you a couple of trailers that might need to be shown to refresh everybody's memory. And then I want to go to the chat and talk about what you're looking forward to the most. Again, if you want to call in and share your views, this is the time to do it in the Discord, and let me know what you think. But let's start with PlayStation 5. I'm not that interested yet. Now, again, PS5 will definitely have some kind of showcase, it sounds like, in the next 1 to 2 months. So Hopefully we'll see some more stuff. These are guesses. Like, I don't think we're going to see Intergalactic in 2025, right? So that would be on my list. I'm actually very excited for that game. I don't think it's coming this year. But I'll show you what I got. Let me bring this up so we can all look at this together. Where'd it go? Here it is right here. Okay. All right. So we got Marathon is probably coming this year. I'm excited for Marathon. I'm excited for it because I like the idea of, at least the last I heard, is it is an extraction game where the environment isn't necessarily getting smaller. It might be, but the big hook is you have these oxygen canisters, and if you run out of air, you die. That's kind of what it seems to be, at least from the trailer. So that, and the fact that it's great Bungie gunplay. I was never a big Destiny fan, but I, of course, thought the guns and the melee weapons felt great. I don't know if it, hopefully this is not going to be a game that they charge money for. It'll be free out the gate, but who knows? They've had an example where it worked with Helldivers, an example where it doesn't with Concord. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen with it? But in terms of the price point, I am curious, and Sony needs a game like this. Sony needs a win like this. So I am looking forward to this, and I like Bungie's world building a great deal as well. So we know it's coming to PS5. We know it's coming to PC. There was a little bit of a weird wording the other day to suggest it might be coming to Xbox. I'm not saying it is. Don't, get all crazy. I'm just saying that based on what Schreier said today about his prediction that exclusives this year are going to go the way of the dodo for Microsoft and Sony, and the fact that the way I think it was with the president of Sony the other day worded something. Usually when they say our service-based games will be PC and PlayStation, the way it was worded suggested it might be more than that. And that's me reading into it. I don't know. But let's I'm looking forward to Marathon. I honestly would love to be excited for Death Stranding 2 on the beach. The trailer was cool. But I am paying attention, but I'm talking right now. I'll talk to you guys later. It's not chat time for me. Come on now. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a weird one for me. Like, this is a hard game to get excited about for me, because if you didn't play or complete the first one, like, this is so story heavy that I think this is a bad move. I don't think this is, I could be wrong. I don't think this is going to do well. John says, Jaffe, did you like Death Stranding 1? I did like what I played, and it was really interesting. It was really different. The cutscenes were really cool. I keep thinking I would like to go back and play it. Addy Pie says there will be a recap option in the main menu for people like you. Hopefully it's interesting and playable, and it's not just like a long fucking hour movie. But to make a sequel to a game that probably has a really low completion rate, I assume. Let's see what the completion rate is. What is Death Stranding completion rate? My guess is it's relatively low. 18% of the people. Okay, well, now as of October, the average completion rate is 47%. So almost half. I guess that's pretty good, right? I guess that's pretty good. So, I don't know, it seems risky to make a game like this. But anyway, that's coming out. Maybe that's your most anticipated game. Ghost of Yodi, have they said this is 2025? If so, I love Ghost Tsushima, right? So because I love Ghost Tsushima and I love Sucker Punch, of course I'm interested in this. But, it just kind of, Assassin's Creed Shadows already looks more interesting mechanically. Obviously, they haven't really shown much about the mechanics here, but what they did show suggests that if what they showed is reflective of what they're releasing, and it's just more of the same, better graphics, couple of adjustments, new story, I'm not super interested in this, because AC Shadows looks like a more interesting mechanic. series of mechanics, basically. But that's, who knows? I mean, I have great faith in this franchise and in this developer. But, Ballad of Antara. I don't even know what the fuck this is. So, action RPG, multiple characters. These are all exclusives for Sony. So if you've heard of this, great. I have no idea what the fuck this is. Where Wind Meets is an epic open world action adventure RPG, confirmed to be launching on PS5. There's no word when it'll come out, so maybe it's this year. It looks like another Souls thing with great graphics, but Are you tripping, says Matthew. Ghost is going to be way better than AC. I'm not tripping. I'm just telling you that I watched the Assassin's Creed I have watched the Assassin's Creed, what they call deep dives. I don't know if they're really deep dives. And in that, it looks a lot more interesting than what we know right now about Yodi. Again, relax. I'm not, you have to agree with me. You have to agree with me. Not because it's going to be a better game, but because you don't know anything right now about Yodi in terms of moment-to-moment gameplay. But you know a lot more about Shadow's moment-to-moment gameplay. That's all I'm saying, and it looks good. But do I think Sony has an opportunity and a chance and experience where they will do better? Probably, yeah. I'm not suggesting they won't, but I'm just saying based on what we've seen, Seeger says, I don't have to agree with anything. You don't have to, but if you want to be, thought of as a wise thought leader, Marvel's Wolverine, this is fascinating to me. So I guess maybe, I don't think they've come out with a date, but let's assume this will be a Christmas title. The fact that they lost their director, and their director was the guy who made the best Spider-Man game, in my opinion, which is Miles Morales. And he's now over working on the Perfect Dark game with Crystal Dynamics. And they have a new director now on Wolverine. That's pretty weird. And then there's the leaks that were like, again, I don't want to fucking judge leaks because they're leaks and they're not meant to be judged. I've worked on enough games to know that you don't want to base it on that. But I do think what is fair is that most of what they showed, like I would never judge the leaks on terms of quality because that PlayStation and specifically Insomniac is going to blow out the doors when it comes to production value. So fuck the leaks. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter if the animations look janky or it's so old. It's not ready to go. But certainly though, the gameplay that they showed, other than a couple of moments where it was nice to see Wolverine looking really brutal. Like there was this one moment where he tackled this guy through a window and pushed him out the window. And it was really cool. But most of it, I thought, just looked super generic. And so I don't know if that's why the director left and he was pushing for something. It's a real tough thing. Insomniac is one of the most, and I've talked to certain people over there about this. They're one of the most consistent, reliable teams at Sony. But one of the reasons that makes them reliable is that they're very strict about how much freedom you have to play with the formula. Not because they're not creative at all. Of course they are, but because it's like, look, we want to be reliable. We want to ship on budget. We want to ship on time. We want to be dependable developers. And in that, maybe Wolverine was just like, look, man, Spider-Man had the time to find the swinging, and that was the sex. That was the juice of that game. It was the thing that you really talked about, that swinging in the open world. Maybe they didn't give Wolverine enough time, and it just kind of looks like a melee game. It just kind of looks okay. I'm sure it'll be better than okay, but it doesn't make me all that excited based on what we know. Yes, ship on time and ship on budget, Addy Pie, yes. Death Stranding 2, we've talked about. The Midnight Walk, I think, is from the guys, and this, all I know right now is this visually looks great. It looks claymation. This is from the guys that did, I think, the DICE game, like the what is that fucking game called? here, Midnight Walk. This looks amazing, but again, I don't know if it's a good game, but visually it looks amazing. And this is going to be an exclusive for these guys, I guess.
Listen to me, Burnt One. If you're intending Midnight Walk, you better be sure to keep your spark safe and burning.
While I was in the black, I had a dream. There was a monster in the woods.
And on you go, like a moth into the burning light.
Thank you.
Who took the sun away? Little soul, you charming little wanderer, where are you off to now?
And so it was that the Burnt One and a small flame took a wander down the Midnight Walk.
So I will say that's one of my most anticipated games for PlayStation. It's not going to make me buy a PS. This is on PS5 or PSVR 2, and I really like that. I like VR games that are not first person, that make it feel like you're, like Moss, like you're living in the world. I wish all the PlayStation 5 games had a VR version like that, where you could play Spider-Man. It's still third person. It's so immersive for me playing that way. But anyway, I don't quite know what the game is, but the art style, the narrative, the tone, this is kind of like Sony's South of, what's the Xbox game? Is it called South of Midnight? It's kind of got that flavor to it. I'm excited for this one. But yeah, this is a day one game for me. Absolutely. 100%. Hey, there's my nephew, Daniel. He says it looks awesome. Right. Visually, it looks really, really cool. I'm super interested to see how it actually plays. Okay, so this is, and this is from the guys that did Lost in Random, which was a very cool looking game. I never played Lost in Random. Think about that, though. I mean, it's just so weird. The industry is littered with these games that they have a very small window to make fans. And even though, yeah, you can play it on EA Plus and Premium and all that shit, how many people are I'd love to see the stats on that. Like, how many people are going to their Ubisoft Plus account or their EA Play account and playing something like Lost in Random? It seems like 12 people a month, maybe 20 people a month. It's not like movies where it's like they can be discovered. People just don't do that with games. They take too long. But I'm excited for this one, the Midnight Walk. Marathon we've talked about. Fair Games, I think, looks like rubbish. I'll put it on while we're talking. I think this just looks like generic Ubisoft era slop. I know it's not actual gameplay, so this is the Jade Raymond company. They have a lot of chances to change people's minds. I don't think the trailer did very well. In fact, if you look at the kind of, I hate to agree with Asmongold, but he was the first guy, and then there was an article about it yesterday. We'll talk about it later on the Gabbin' Games today, that was talking about the like-dislike ratio on YouTube. It doesn't always, and there are some weird, outliers. But 80% of the time, if you're getting really bad dislikes compared to likes on YouTube, it does tend to historically suggest a game that's not going to do that well. And apparently the dislikes on this are worse than the Concord dislikes, which is hard to believe. So it's not that this game looks bad. It just doesn't look interesting. It looks like hyenas, basically. And so you best believe, I don't imagine Sony hasn't taken to heart the response to the trailer, the response to Concord, and they've said, okay, let's make some adjustments before we show this again. So it sounds like people are thinking this is 2025, but I don't know if they've actually given us a release date. But it's certainly about time. For another one of their service games to hit pretty soon, but we'll see. Although then again, Sony probably at this point expected, what's it called? Factions, Last of Us Factions to be ruling the fucking roost, man. But I don't know. That's one of those things. Sometimes you think these guys need to just be like, you know what, guys, just play ball. Just not everything has to be super creative. Just fucking make Marvel Rivals, but with PlayStation characters and make a lot of money. Okay, Phantom Blade Zero. I'm sure you guys remember this trailer. This is a console exclusive. It might be timed, but I don't know how good it's going to be. But boy, it's a beautiful trailer. If you don't remember this, I guess this is another kind of Souls thing.
Left 42 or 41.
The face of this is here!
Don't go up there. Turn back before it's too late.
So that's interesting. People have played this. I did not know that they did hands-on on this game, but I think it looks really fun. And I'm glad to see. I mean, this may be, I'm not sure what Uncensored's saying it's on PC, but I'm assuming that that some of these games will be PC and console exclusive for PlayStation. I'm not suggesting it's not PC as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think this looks great. Phantom Blade Zero. So that could be really, really cool as well. Sword of the Sea. I don't even remember this. It takes place in an abandoned realm where the terrain flows in waves. You'll use a traversal vehicle called the Hover Sword. Fuck it. I want to watch the trailer for this. Hope you guys don't mind. This is not going to be a big trailer show, but some of these things that I don't remember, I just want to kind of refresh my memory before we can kind of say what you're most anticipated. Sword of the Sea. Trailer. Do you remember this? What is this? This is so Phantom Blade is going to be PC and PS5, right? And this is PC and PS5 as well. Let me see if this is the latest trailer. 1 year ago, so we should be getting this year sometime. All right. All right, that's kind of cool. It's not from Genova Chen. It's not from that game company, but it's one of the artists that worked on those games and then did Pathless and Abzu. So could be interesting. And then, of course, Intergalactic. So out of all of these, and again, if you want to call in and share the game you're looking forward to the most in 2025 and why, I would love to have you on the show. I mean, Sword of the Sea looks good. Phantom Blade, I'm all in. That's day one for me, unless it gets terrible reviews. Fair Games, I got to see more. It's probably free to play, so I'll try it. Why not? Marathon, day one. Midnight Walk, day one. Death Stranding 2, probably not. Wait for reviews on Wolverine. These two I don't know much about. And then Ghost of Yodi, probably. There's also a couple more that there's Midnight Murder Club, which is kind of a social deduction shooter sort of thing, which is coming. MLB The Show, of course, is coming for PlayStation exclusively. Well, not exclusively. Ghost of Yodi we talked about. There's this game, Lost Soul Aside, which I don't even know what the fuck this is. This is one of their PlayStation China Hero Project games. Is this something we want to watch? Do you guys want to watch a couple of trailers as we go through this, or do you already know what all this stuff is? Because two of these games are coming, I guess, from Sony XDev. And it does look a little generic. I like this one more, Convaleria, just because it's got a gun. You know, here, let's look at Lost Soul Aside real quick. Let's see what it looks like. Here we go.
Hold my hand, alter my life. I see the sky reflect my name, a flicker of love. Lost faces in the hope of a breeze arise, let flowers bloom, even in winter.
I mean, that lives and dies by reviews. This one looks a little more interesting. This is going to be PlayStation exclusive as well. Convaleria. I do want to show you this one just because, you know, I'm over the Souls stuff, but Souls with guns hasn't gotten old for me yet. So here we go.
当我第一次踏上这片土地的时候，我还不知道何处是尽头。这趟征程注定漫长、曲折而反复。
By the way, what he's actually saying, I ran it through Google Translation. It's nothing as magical. He's basically giving a recipe for French toast, and he's just saying it in Chinese, I think. It's so dumb. It's like they just didn't have time to write the dialogue.
直到狂风席卷的孤独，直到战斗的号角，冲破了期望。
Oh shit, is this 4-player shooter bullshit? I just lost all interest in this. Unless those are AI characters, I don't give a fuck about this game. Make sure your eggs are fully cooked before you put the sourdough in the pan. So I'll say two things about this. I mean, well, three. First off, yeah, if this is a multiplayer shooter, then I don't have any interest in it. And two, I will say that a lot of people are like, what is the intergalactic gameplay? I think the intergalactic gameplay is this with a Naughty Dog polish, not multiplayer. But I mean, in terms of melee and shooting, like Vanquish, basically. I'm very, very interested in that. But Alexa, stop. Good God. Alexa, stop. Fucking but I don't, neither of these interest me all that much. But the interesting thing, though, is, and this kind of goes back to our earlier conversation about aging game developers or game executives, right? Like, I looked at Helldivers 2 and I saw that trailer and I said, maybe it'll be great, but the trailer didn't blow my mind. This is the same, right? This could be Sony's next big multiplayer co-op hit. Based on the trailer, it doesn't look any better or worse than Helldivers 2. It's pretty much the same thing. It's a multiplayer PvE environment shooter. It's big effects, big graphics. So, I don't know. How do you know what people want anymore? Like, that's a thing. You got to be dialed into that. And I don't know if anybody really is, but this could be a big deal, this game. But it certainly doesn't look all that interesting to me. Let's see if we missed any. I don't think so. Death Stranding, Ghost, Wolverine. Yeah, we got all these already. Okay. So now let's take a look at Xbox. I know, I don't really care. I don't give a fuck. But I will say that I know you guys seem to think I'm like anti-Sony all the time. Look, you just saw Sony's lineup. Okay? If you're excited by that lineup, I'm not saying there aren't some great looking games on there. Phantom Zone Zero or whatever it's called looks great. Yodi probably will be great. Wolverine, maybe. Midnight Walk looks great. Marathon. But none of them have me like, ooh, like I'm more interested in the Xbox games that are coming out right now. That's all I'll fucking say. And again, these will probably end up on PlayStation anyway, so don't worry about it. If you're like, I don't have an Xbox or I don't have a PC, I get it. But in terms of games, I'm very interested in Avowed. Avowed has me very, very interested because I like games that give you a lot of choice for narrative. And apparently this is a game that the people who have previewed it have said that there is a lot of places to explore, that if you go out of the main path, there's big, meaty sections of the game. So I'm super fucking interested in this one. Avowed will be out next month, like about 5 weeks from now. Fable, I am not totally convinced is coming out in 2025, but like I was interested in Hellblade 2. I was interested in Hellblade 2 for about 10 minutes when I got it, and then I played it, and I couldn't play it for more than 2 hours. But yeah, I mean, it looked great, but then it was really boring as fuck, that game. Okay, Fable, I've never played a Fable game in my life. I don't have much to say about this. People seem to like it, but it's not really on my radar right now until I see more. I hear it looks really good, but South of Midnight, I am very excited for. The more they show, the more I'm interested. And this was a game that did a really good deep dive on YouTube a couple of last month, where they really went into sort of the narrative and the music and some of the gameplay. It's got the director of SOCOM 1 and 2, who's really one of the most unsung great game designers out there working, in my opinion, a guy named David Sears. I'm super interested in this game and super jazzed. So this looks like it is shaping up for this year. There's not a release date yet. The combat looks like, I don't need it to be Souls combat. I don't need it to be super skill-based combat. It looks to me like the combat is somewhere between Kena Bridge of Spirits and probably, it kind of looks like Kena Bridge of Spirits or maybe Dragon Age. It's kind of flashy, but it's not like, people who are really into like Souls games and DMC and stuff probably aren't going to lose their shit. But this to me seems like much more of an experience-based game than like a mechanics-based combat game. So I'm in for this. It's a neat setting. It's a rarely touched upon setting anywhere, certainly in games. It's kind of Southern horror gothic. So I'm very, very, this is day one for me easily, south of midnight. Hopefully it's good. The Outer Worlds 2, maybe if I'm in a down period. Sequel to the Outer Worlds, obviously, which I liked, but I didn't like the humor. I don't like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Aren't we funny and aren't corporations? I agree corporations can often be horrible, but it tried to be really clever and funny and subversive, and it was just kind of like, I've seen this 1,000 times, so it really didn't land with me. I don't really care about this one. Doom, of course. How can you not be thrilled by Doom? The last 2 Doom games were amazing. Were fucking amazing. This one apparently is a lot less vertical and more about doing more ground dodging and ground mechanics. And I'm super fucking jazzed. Day one easily for Doom. Gears of War, I do not believe this is going to be 2025, but maybe it will. I hope it will. I love Gears of War. I replayed the first one about 6 months ago. I loved it. I had Cliff on the show. We talked about it. That video you can find on this very channel. And then I even enjoyed the last one. I didn't love it as much as the last one, but as the first 2, but I did enjoy it. And I imagine this one's going to be going back to basics. It's not going to be the big open world sections that we had in Gears 5. It's going to be more of a linear romp. And I guess it's going to be with the main characters that a lot of people were complaining were not in the last one. So I'm excited for this one. That's day one. Citizen Sleeper, not for me. Atom Fall, whatever. I don't really know much about it. It's like a shooter or something. It's coming in March. Fallout in Britain. Fuck it. Let's watch the trailer. I've never seen the trailer. Let's watch this. This is coming. Is this Game Pass? Let's see. Is Atom Fall coming? Let's see. Is Atom Fall Game Pass? Will come to Game Pass on day one. All right, well, let's see what this is. I have no idea what this is.
Windscale, the pride of Britain. Nestled in the picturesque Lake District, the state-of-the-art atom plant has transformed this rugged landscape into the envy of its northern neighbors. Scientific progress waits for no one.
Windscale. Everything changed when that bloody atom plant went up in flames.
Citizens of Wyndham, there has been an increase in bandit activity outside the village walls.
Temporary quarantine, they said? It's been bloody years.
They're hiding something from us. Something terrible. My name's Molly. You got out to trade? I got bits and bobs for sale. Please be careful. It's more dangerous than you can possibly imagine.
Hello, love. That looks pretty good. I like that. Rebellion made it. They're pretty good. What do you mean? It looks slop, says Uncensored. What are you talking about? It looks good. It looks fucking good. Meh. What are you talking about? All right, whatever. I think it looks good. I'm excited for that. 33 Immortals is basically Hades with 33 players. I played the demo. It was cool, but there was a beta over the summer. It was fine. I mean, it was neat. It was neat to basically have all these people playing a roguelike together, 33 people, but after that wore off, it was just kind of okay. Mitch says that game that we just looked at, Atom Fall, looks janky as fuck. Okay, where did it look janky? Show me on the doll where it looks janky. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'd like to know kind of what state-of-the-art janky is today. Like when you guys say something looks janky, can you show me like what's janky about it? They didn't, it looks fine. I mean, it looks like a real, look at the environments. They look really good. Jaffe does good game design. Give me that Euro jank. Yeah, Hyper Lightbreaker looks great too. Yeah. The chars, the characters look janky. What do you mean? I mean, yeah, but be specific. What's janky about this character? Like, here, we'll see a character in a second, I think, in the bar. How do they look janky? They look good to me. I mean, what do you need them to be doing? I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't understand. Which game is Hades with 30 players is 33 Immortals? Keep in mind, any lag we see is probably due to the stream. That's probably true. That's probably true. Oh, the shooting of the pistol part looked janky. Okay, let me see where that was. Hang on. All right, let's see real quick. All right, probably right here.
Please be careful. It's more dangerous than you can possibly imagine.
Okay, that looks janky. All right, I don't know what to tell you. I think it looks cool. We'll find out together. Have you started your most anticipated game of the year yet? Have I started? What do you think we've been talking about? Tech Protect? Jesus. What do you mean have I started? These kids today and their drugs. Okay, yeah, I think it looks good. And then what do they got? Arc Studio 2, whatever. I don't give a fuck about that. All right, so I think Xbox, frankly, has a more interesting lineup. Oh, Tech Protect says, it was stated, old man. Learn to read better, bitch. Whatever. Arc Riders. I don't even know what Arc Riders is, but I see you guys talking about it in the stream. Let me bring it up. YouTube Arc Riders. You think Xbox looks far worse? Really? Okay. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I totally disagree with you, but that's fair. Arc Riders, give me okay, here's a 1-minute trailer. Here we go.
Where do we go from here?
Oh, this is so jank. Am I doing it right?
You've told us nothing of this place. Look at us now. Raiders. Playing with fire.
Oh my God, what's the game? Fuck you. Come on, let's get to it.
Everything to lose. But even more to gain.
What? What the fuck is it? The fuck am I? Really? You got to be shitting me. Give me a. What the fuck's the gameplay? Okay, I'm not watching a 6-minute video. I'm just gonna scrub through it.
Let's go to that tower.
What is this game?
Careful, that's a hornet.
Is it a multiplayer fucking shooter? What is this?
Down antiseptic.
Contact.
Oh, whatever. It's an extraction shooter. I'm not saying it won't be great, by the way. I'm just like, okay, it looks like every other fucking. I don't know what's got your tits all excited, but not saying it's bad. I'm just like, okay. Let's just see if we're missing anything. Dynasty Warriors Origins. I played the demo. I didn't care for it. Sniper Elite Resistance. I am very excited for because I love Sniper 5, and this is kind of basically more of the same. I also like that they're kind of like going... They made it in 2 years. They're like, look, we reused a bunch of assets. It's really fun. The previews have been really positive, and it's kind of like, this is what it takes to make a game quick. I'll bring you on to chat in a couple of minutes. Let me just let me go through all the games first. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I am excited about a great deal. The last trailer sold me, and then we looked at the deep dive, and the chat really talked it up. And because I'd never really played the first one. Sid Meier's Civilization 7, not my cup of tea. Shadows, I'm excited about. Avowed, we talked about. Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, I am excited about. I hope I don't have to have ever played any of the other Like a Dragon games, because I really have only played one of the Yakuza games before, and I liked it, but I didn't play it that long. But the trailer for Like a Dragon looks batshit. Monster Hunter Wilds, I played the demo. I liked it, but I'm not going to dedicate time to get into it. Split Fiction from It Takes Two, Joseph Fares' team, looks awesome. I'm excited for that. Believe it or not, I'm excited for Tales of the Shire. I know. It looks so cozy and charming, though. Shut up. It looks so cozy and charming that I don't care. Tales of the Shire. And I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's shit. I don't really care. And I'm not going to watch the whole trailer. It's just like a little, Hobbit kind of crafting thing. And you get to live your little life in the Shire, and you get to make things, and, maybe Gandalf will come visit you and he'll say, I'm not trying to rob you. I'm trying to help you. Whatever it is he says. I'm excited for this game. Yeah, Dreamlight Valley for hobbits. Absolutely. I'm super jazzed for this. I want to play this game. What else can you do in it? You can farm and, make your little hobbit hole nice and wander around and see the bagginess and all that shit. A lovely day in the Shire, My brother will love this game because they have lots of feet in it, and he loves looking at feet. I'm kidding. He hates feet. I don't know why, but he despises feet. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. What else do we have coming that we haven't seen yet? That's coming soon, by the way. That will be coming in... So Atomfall is coming in March. The Shire is coming in March. And Split Fiction is coming in March. People are excited for the first Berserker. Who knows what's coming with the Switch 2? Probably Metroid Prime Beyond. Grand Theft Auto 6, the rumor as of today is it's not shipping. It's a rumor, 2025, but we don't know that. I'm very excited for Metal Gear Solid Delta. Absolutely. And then all this is other stuff that we've already gone through. So here's what I will tell you. Oh, and Kingmakers looks amazing. Yeah, performing producer. I've been looking forward to Kingmakers for a very long time, since I first saw it last year. But if it's coming out this year, yeah. So I would say for me, and then I'll bring you guys on. I got a couple people in the chat that want to share the games they're most interested in. But I'm certainly interested to hear more about Marvel's 1943. I'm interested to hear more about Judas. Elden Ring multiplayer doesn't really interest me all that much, just because I don't like multiplayer. Mafia: The Old Country, I'm interested in. Crimson Desert, if it comes out this year, I'm excited for. So I would say, so I would say day one for me, like somebody in the chat said, Jaffe, if Assassin's Creed and Ghost of Yodi came out on the same day, which one would you be more interested in, or which would you buy? Right now, simply based on what I know, I'm more interested in Assassin's Creed Shadows, even though Ghost of Tsushima is one of my top 5 PS games, PS exclusive first-party games of the last 10 years. It's fucking awesome. But the systems and the different characters you can play have me much more excited in Shadows. But we haven't really heard much about it. Jacob Martin, that's not as weird as it sounds to you. Elden Ring, he says, is Jaffe's best game ever, but he's also not interested in the next Elden Ring. Yeah, because it's not the same. It says you can play it not multiplayer, but it's primarily designed to be a multiplayer game. To me, that's really not all that interesting to me. But if it's as satisfying a single player experience as Elden Ring or Bloodborne or Demon's Souls is as a single player experience, then yeah, I'm there. But it's rare that you can achieve both. But I would say for me, Doom, of course, South of Midnight, Avowed is day one, AC Shadows, Metal Gear, obviously GTA if it comes out is day one. Atomfall, now that it's going to be on Game Pass, fuck it. Split Fiction looks great. The other game that looked like Split Fiction also looks great from the people who make Overcook. I forget what they called it. That was at Keeley's show recently. That's day one. Probably Kingdom Come Deliverance, if the reviews are as good as I expect them to be, is day one. As for PlayStation, though, Phantom Blade Zero is easily day one. Marathon is day one. Midnight Walk, probably day one. So I'm excited. There's a lot of good stuff. Oh, I'll give it a try, Elden Lord. There's a lot of good stuff. And again, this kind of goes back to that argument all the time about why is it that people are so negative about games these days? Yeah, exactly. Amex says there's probably a lot of Switch 2 games that aren't even announced. Right. When that thing launches, you'll probably get Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom as a remaster, a bunch of other stuff. Will I be joining the Sifted Video Game Fantasy League this year? I don't even know what it is. What is that? But anyway, okay. So, yeah, I don't get the whole complaints about, oh, I'm not interested in AAA gaming is dead. This is really... I mean, again, maybe my expectations are just lower, and maybe this is why I don't connect with gamers anymore as a designer, because I look at this and I hear a lot of you guys bitching about these games, and I'm like, this sounds like there's a lot of good fucking shit coming. And we haven't even gotten into the indie games. We'll probably do that on a future show, but there's plenty of indie games coming as well. I'm with Matthew, man. Matthew says gaming is as good as it's ever been. Let's bring in Torque and see what he's excited for. Torque, what do you think? What do you think of these Torque? You're on the show, buddy. That's okay.
No,
what are you excited for? I understand. No worries. What are you excited for?
Tell you that I have two. Can I tell you two, or can I only
absolutely
pick one?
No, give me your both.
All right. Well, the first one only rumored, but Half-Life 3 apparently is happening right now.
I'm fascinated by that one. I mean, I know what you're talking about. Jason Schreier today said that he expects an announcement this year, not a coming out this year of the game. But then the guy who plays the G-Man put out a very cryptic little did you see that?
Yeah, I didn't read it yet, but I saw a headline.
Let me play it for you. It's only like a couple of seconds. Let me go to, if you go to Twitter, let's see, Twitter, G-Man, Half-Life. And then Gabe has, somebody has said that at Valve, friends and family are testing it right now, right? So apparently there's a lot of speculation. Then Mike Shapiro, who plays G-Man, let me play this clip for you guys. It's 20 seconds, but this is pretty hard to deny that he's not teasing this. But this is, and I'll get back to you in the call in a second. But let me play this for you guys.
Another year already. Good to see and hear from so many of you. May the next quarter century deliver as many unexpected surprises as did the millenniums first. And again, time is fluid, like music. See you in the new year.
I mean, that's pretty telling. I mean, granted, he could just be having fun with the voice that he's most famous for, Mike Shapiro. But I don't know, between what we've heard about Valve having a friends and family program happening, and between and with Schreier's thing, I don't know. It sounds like we might actually hear something about this. I'm surprised because the last Half-Life that really got people excited, I know people liked Alex, but it was kind of a small burn hit because of VR. was 20 years ago. It was 2004 when Half-Life 2 came out. So I like that you're excited for it. I'm more curious, but do you think this still has an audience? Like if Half-Life 3 comes out, people are going to show up and really care? Or do you think it's going to be like Halo?
No, absolutely. Like Half-Life 2, even though it's like 20 years ago, Jesus. Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's like the second coming of Christ in the gaming space, if you ask me.
So you don't. My concern or my thought is it has a chance of being like Halo, which Halo for a while was the biggest thing.
Yeah,
and it's been a long time since it mattered, and then Infinite came out, which I liked. I thought it was really good in a lot of ways, and it seems to have kind of like nobody cares anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope not. I hope people will care, especially when they've been doing the anniversary celebrations and like, releasing new updates for Half-Life 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Are that's going to bring more people, or remind people again of the fact that they exist. So, I think it'll be huge.
One Pump Giga Chad says, I just played through Half-Life for the first time in December. You've got to tell us. So as somebody who had never played it before, were you blown away, or was it more like when you watch like an old movie from the 40s and you're like, I appreciate it for what it is, but it's hard to watch it just as a fresh experience? But yeah, we'll see. It's definitely an interesting surprise. What's your second most excited game?
Yeah, I just wanted to say in regards to that, where you're saying, is it something that you could experience today? I think it is, because if you see how popular like the air quotes boomer shooter genre is now, I don't think people care so much about whether it's the latest and greatest tech or even gameplay. It's good games are good games regardless of how old they are. So
but okay, go. I agree with that in some cases. There are some games, even old arcade games, you can still play and enjoy without it being through a historical lens. But in the further developers have gotten into mastering 3D, I think we are seeing games from the PS2 era, and that would be Half-Life 2's era, that actually work just as games. And so yeah, maybe Half-Life is going to be this guy who played Half-Life for the first time. He says, I wasn't blown away like it's the best thing ever, but the story and world are super interesting, and it ends with a huge cliffhanger. So clearly it still holds up. But I would be very disappointed in the new Half-Life if they don't give us, this generation's gravity gun.
Well, no, they're going to, because that's the only reason. If you watch the documentary that they released,
did, and they had some very cool mechanics that they were working on.
Like, this is the only reason why we haven't really felt a call to make the next Half-Life, is because we didn't feel that there was anything amazing that they could do. They're gonna. There's no way they're releasing Half-Life 3 without.
And if you guys didn't see the documentary, the things that stood out to me were they had like a gun that made like frost that you could use to create ledges and things, and you could also use it like Iceman and the X-Men to slide on, and you could affect enemies with it. They also had enemies that were like slime, that when you destroyed them, they became smaller and they could fit through grates and things. And so you had to figure out how to deal with them, because just shooting them would just make more of them, and you couldn't shut doors because they would ooze under the doors. And I thought that was pretty cool. So
that is cool. That seems to be the stuff that they even possibly threw out that they didn't think was
right.
Unless they're going to bring it back in the new one. But yeah, regardless. No.
All right, what's your next game?
For that, the next game, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Jump Ship. It literally allows you to be a 4-man crew on your own version of the Millennium Falcon, and I don't know much about it, but the trailer looked amazing.
All right, we're gonna put the trailer on. Hang tight. We're gonna put the trailer on first. Let's watch it, then I'll get back to you on the call. Here's the trailer for Jump Ship, because that does sound fucking awesome. All right, here we go. Let me put it up on the screen.
Hi, I'm Philip Kolianos from Keepsake Games.
Hello,
and
Philip
this is
Kolianos.
Jump Ship, a mission-based co-op PvE space adventure. In Jump Ship, teamwork is crucial. Mount turrets, tackle emergencies, and ensure your ship's integrity to complete missions and reap the rewards. While Jump Ship is best enjoyed with up to 4 players, solo players are welcome too. Each mission in Jump Ship demands strategic choices. Jump to riskier sectors with high risk, high reward, or take a safer route. Do you want components for your ship? Do you need repairs, or perhaps some extra credits? Alright, we just arrived. There seems to be a jammer preventing us from jumping further. Let's make our way there and disable it. Using our sensors, we can tell that ships are patrolling the area. With some good positioning and teamwork though, I'm sure we can make our way past them undetected. We made it. Time to enter the facility. On foot, it's essential to stay together and use all gear and equipment you've looted to stay alive. When that's done and all loot is collected, it's time to return to the ship and... Pirates! All crew to their stations! Oof, that was close. Good thing nothing got severely broken. Let's jump to the next sector. I wonder what we'll find there. Jump Ship is packed with a wide range of challenges from intense ship battles to on-foot exploration and sometimes a mix of both. Every jump will feel fresh and give you something different. So in a nutshell, you start with choosing your ship, you go on a mission, reap the rewards, and then return back to your hangar. There you can upgrade your ships, purchase new equipment before embarking on a new adventure. And that's Jump Ship. Preach wishlist, like and subscribe, and
I think that looks pretty fun. I think that looks really, really good. I mean, it's funny because, like, you know, we were looking at Arc Raiders earlier, and Arc Raiders was sort of like, I've seen that 1,000 times. I haven't, you know, somebody in the chat was saying, Robbo says Sea of Thieves in space. You know, I think that's cool. I like that idea, and I don't know if they said you could fight other ships in space that are other players, but I don't think that matters. Yeah, total.
Yeah, I think it's just PvE.
Right.
Even still, like, I think, to be honest, I know you say you're not a big fan of, like, the co-op games. I find that mind-blowing. Well, to me, PvE with just 4 buddies or whatever, or 3 buddies, I guess, is really fun.
But so the reason I don't tend to like it usually is because, how do I put this? So, like, in something like even Helldivers, right? The scenario they paint is something that I want to have a grand adventure in. And when I have other people, it usually devolves, you know, it kills the immersion because someone's like, oh, did you see that fucking Netflix show, you know, over the mic, and you kind of lose the sense of being in the world.
Yeah.
And on top of it, it isn't made up for because what you're being asked to do moment to moment, though, it's more fun with friends. Everything's more fun with friends in terms of multiplayer, but I'd rather have a handcrafted single player adventure. But something like this is interesting because what they're asking you to do, I haven't really done before in co-op. So I like the idea that you're flying the ship, me and someone are running around putting out fires, and someone else is jetpacking over to an enemy ship in order to steal, you know, some kind of item that we need, bring it back to our ship that will let us activate our super weapon and blow them up and win the mission. Like, it seems like this offers up the opportunity for more interesting play than just walking around with your friends and aiming and shooting. And I know Helldivers 2, I've played that, I like that, but it still feels after a while, I'm like, okay, I get it. But this looks pretty cool. This looks pretty cool. Yeah. I'm excited. So,
have you ever played any of the survival games like The Forest or
I've played 7 Days to Die. I liked that a great deal. And I played a little bit of Grounded. I haven't played Conan though. No.
And you didn't did you play 7 Days to Die with a group or just on your own?
Just on my own.
Oh, yeah. I wonder what you'd think of it playing as a group. I mean, I guess you got to get the right people. But, man, I love 7 Days to Die as a group. It's freaking chaotic and terrifying.
Well, maybe we'll do a member game night for that and have people jump in. Because I think it's free to play game, right? So everybody can play it?
No, it's not. It's cheap, though.
I don't remember buying it, but I own it. So I really liked it. It was pretty good. Maybe it's on Game Pass. I don't fucking know. Yeah.
Oh, that could. No, it is. It is on Game Pass. Yeah,
that must be
sure.
why. All right, Torque.
The shitty thing though is you can't play Game Pass cross-play with PC.
Oh, that sucks. Okay, well, we'll figure it out. But yeah, I do like the survival games for sure. All right, buddy. Thank you for calling.
One last thing, can I ask you?
Yeah.
I put a tribute. I told you that I was working on a Future Cop spiritual successor.
Oh,
I put a tribute to you in the trailer, and I want to take a screenshot and DM you. Can I do that? And just make sure you're okay
is
with
the
it?
trailer up? Can I see it?
No, the trailer's not up, but just the scene. That
Yeah,
has the tribute
DM it to me, and I'll show it to the.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be fine with it.
I mean, you don't have to even show it to the show.
I want to though. They're gonna want to see it. I want to see it. Yeah, put it up
when the trailer comes out for sure. And yeah, you can do whatever you want with it.
All right, send it to me. I'd love to see it. All right, thanks, man.
Cool. Thanks, Jaffe.
Yeah, and so there's the other game, The Dispatch, is coming out this year, which is kind of this cop game, which the demo was really, really fun. South of Midnight, Kevin, that's your most anticipated. I get it, 100%. Someone lists 2025 horror games without Silent Hill and Midnight, or RE. It looks bland. Really? I mean, again, it depends what you're playing. If you're talking, Jacob, about big budget, perhaps, but this year, the end of this year has been so good for horror that no one was talking about this time last year. So if you look at Mouthwashing, which most people talk about now, but if you look at Among Ashes, and if you look at While We Wait Here, those were on no one's radar. And those are better horror. And also, I thought The Killing Antidote this year was fucking excellent. So I would absolutely... and a lot of people like Crow Country. I didn't like it, or I liked it, but I didn't like it like everybody else did. But I certainly enjoyed it. So, but it does sound like there might be a Resident Evil game this year. Yeah. Tech, do we want to bring in Sigrat, or are you guys just shooting the shit in there? I'm not sure if we want to bring if he's looking to get on the mic. Yeah, so we'll see. Amex has a good point talking about Jump Ship. He says, this is how you do a trailer. I mean, I don't know if that's like how Jeff Keighley would want a trailer to be, but for me, the Jump Ship trailer was, I mean, when you've actually got gameplay to advertise, I would probably expect a better narrator, but short of that, though, yeah, it's like, oh, you've actually got some gameplay. Cool. Okay. That's what I want to see. But I don't know. Maybe that would turn off a lot of people. Maybe most people just want to see the flash. All right. Sigrat, good to talk to you again. It's Jaffe. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Very, very good. What's up with you?
Not too much. I was actually watching the stream and going over some of the games you were reviewing, and that Ballad of Antara you were looking at, I looked into it a little bit further, and I don't know, that actually looks like it might have some potential.
Ballad of Antara. Let me bring it up. That was that's a PlayStation exclusive, right?
It was one of the PlayStation exclusives you were looking at, and it's by a company called Tipworks Studio. Looks like they only have one other game up called Pascal's Wager.
Okay.
I'd not heard of that when it dropped, but it's more recent.
Should I look at the announcement trailer, or 3 months ago they put out a gameplay showcase? I don't want to watch the whole gameplay showcase, but I'll scrub through
I would just say the announcement trailer. I skimmed through the gameplay showcase, and to like give just a general rundown, it looks like a JRPG with a little bit more like development on the gameplay mechanics of combat than anything else.
Gotcha. All right, let me bring it up. I'll play it with volume. It's only a minute and a half, and then I'll talk to you on the other side.
For sure.
Stars. Feuds. I have seen the miracles you so claim. Until the towering shadows vanished into the mist.
I pray for their grace, but all that came were inferior shades.
Why do we have to bear the consequences of such powers?
Time. War. Mortality. These essences shall not fall into your treacherous hands.
Wayward emissaries, grant
and dust the forgotten miracles. Rain fire from above.
This desolate land needs a sprinkle of madness.
Remember, no matter what happens, we did not betray this world.
I think that looks really cool. Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say about it is, and I think looking at the chat, you can see, like Anthony says, all these games look alike. There was the game that came out last year for Xbox that it wasn't Wukong, it was like Lo Wong or whatever, and it felt like so many of these things kind of looked alike and felt alike. That would be the only thing. If you look at like Ballad of Antara and like 5 of the other games we looked at today, they all do seem similar. Do you feel this one it has a way to break out, or do you think it's just going to be which one's the best?
I feel like this one sticks out a little bit based on just what I'm seeing with the plot. It definitely hits some of like the spiritual mythology of like Chinese mythology. I also saw in a chat that someone was saying it's more of a Souls-like game, and that is a better way to put it than a JRPG.
Okay, so yeah, and that's what a lot of those are. I mean, Lies of P started it, but Wolong and I guess you could argue probably not Stellar Blade, but there's a lot of games that look like this and seem to feel like this. But you know, it does look good. There's no doubt. But like, you know, this compared to like Phantom Zone Zero, if that's what it's called, I would say that probably looks better. And so if you're this team, I wonder if they're sitting around going, okay, this is a glut of games like this. How are we going to stand out? What, do we need to change anything? Can we add something? Or maybe fundamentally it's just simply better. We'll have to see. Do you know when this is coming out? Just sometime this year?
I do believe it's just mid-quarter this year, yeah.
Okay. And this is PS exclusive and PC?
It says it is coming out on PC, Xbox, and I believe PlayStation.
Oh, it's Xbox as well. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it looks like it's a multi-platform. I was looking into the creators of both the games, and it doesn't look like they either have much under their rosters. One team has Infinity Nikki, which I have not heard of.
Oh, that game's
And then
amazing.
the other one-
Yeah.
Okay, and the other one was that Pascal's. Oh, was that? Sorry,
Pascal's Wager. I'm bringing it up right now. Let's just take a look at it. So
because I'd never heard of that.
The team
It came
that
out in
did
2020.
the team that did what we just looked at did this game. Pascal's Wager. Is that correct? I don't know if we lost you there. But
yes, sir. This is the only other game that Tips Work has under their roster at the moment.
All right. I mean, it looks competent. Jaffe, Google the game. It's a free-to-play action RPG. Which game? This Pascal's Wager or here? Let's see.
Or is it Infinity Nikki you're talking about?
Oh, Infinity Nikki is technically great. People love it. I haven't played it, but I hear it's really, really, really good. It's on PS5 right now and PC. The visuals of it are excellent, though. Okay, it's a Souls-like video game developed by Tipsworks. It's got decent reviews. Yeah, Uncensored says Infinity Nikki is so good. Anthony says it's actually fun. Infinity Nikki, you should stream that. So the developer is doing of Infinity Nikki. I don't know if it's the developer, but the publisher, because they're a huge publisher. And so they do a lot of things. Infinity Nikki publisher. Let's see. They are Paper Games, I guess, and they do. Let's see. Where are they? Hang on. Who publishes it? Infold Games. Okay. And it's the same team doing, or the same publisher, Ballad of Antara.
So yeah, the publisher for Ballad of Antara is Infold, and the developer is Tipsworks. It's saying.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. Soggy says waiting to see if the new Wolverine game will be a mature game or not. Isn't that interesting? My guess is it will be, or maybe that's why the guy left. Maybe that's why the director was like, fuck it, I can't commit to this. This can't make Wolverine, especially after Wolverine Deadpool. If they put out the new Wolverine and it's a T, they're idiots. They're fucking idiots, is what I would say. All right, man. Thanks for sharing and thanks for showing that off. I appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to you later.
Hey, you have a good one, brother.
All right, you too. All right, fellas. Well, look, that is going to do it for the morning show. We will be back in about 3 hours. What is it now? 2? Yeah, about 3 hours or so with the proper Gabbing Games, where we will cover the news of the day, which will be happening. You know, my guess is, like I said, around 4:45. We'll see how long it takes to prep the show, but that'll be coming later today. In the meantime, consider a subscription, a membership, a like, a notification. Tell your friends, tell your parents. The best goddamn video game channel on the internet. It's not this one, but if you follow me, I'll tell you what it is. Yeah, man, I will see some of you guys later today. In the meantime, be well, be safe, and that's all I got. See you guys.